definitely agree with our brothers and sisters that spoke earlier. I think one of our biggest problems is we have the knowledge, but we don't have the application. And I think in our households, we see the information, but we don't practice it. Perfect example. How many times have we said our music is negative, but yet still we indulge a little bit into our music and play a little bit in our mind and not knowing how much that little bit, when the child sees you listen to that little bit, how it affects their mind and say it's okay. We'll never overcome our challenges as long as the media and the social outlets we have are controlling our life. You can say that, we can read so many books on this, but if we're listening to, like perfect example today, I posted something that somebody put, and there was young brothers freestyling. It was men, it was young brothers, they were like 17, 16 in school, and they were rapping, and they were rapping aggressively, looking like us brothers on a panel talking about how they want to do oral things on another man and how they want to penetrate it, they don't care. They jam into it too, and they got like a little cycle about it, and it's becoming that. But we have to understand that that's our fault because we're not schooling our children. You know, the biggest thing is we got to take them children out of school. This is where it's all happening at. You say, well, I raised you the best I can. That can't be possible. How can you raise somebody the best you can when you sit up for 7 hours, and then when you get home, you're really tired. You need to be debunked or deprogrammed, but you're not deprogramming them because you really don't have that into you. So these are some of the things that we have to look at, and our roles have been flipped. And one of the things before I pass the mic is that men don't know who we are. We never knew who we are. We lived the lie, and we're going to continue to lie until we be able to express who we are. And until we figure out who we are, which some of us may know who we are, but until we really say who we are, I think we're the problem. But the problem is because we have no idea of what we're supposed to be doing, how we're supposed to be doing it, and the way to do it, and we're trying to figure out ourselves as we go on.
You know, as we talk about you mentioned about the media outlets and things of that nature, what are some of the ways that we can combat that to protect our families from some of the onslaught that seems to be particularly headed toward young black and brown people?
I have so much to say, but I'll take that one. Fundamentally, you have to take control of what you can take control of. My philosophy is no whining and complaining. To me, talking about white supremacy, anything that's outside of me and my numbers is whining and complaining. My birthday is my birthday. Everything is based off of numbers, which is astrology. To me, fundamentally, coming on what Nasi said, we don't know our own birth chart. You can't, once you understand what the original map is that you came with, when we go back to these temples, we look at the roof, we look at the map of the Dendora, it's showing us how every successful system on the planet is mapped out. Washington, D.C., you can say the white man runs it or whatever, but he mapped it off of a system of numbers. You have one because of your birthday. My birthday is based on every Sagittarius up there, it's a Gemini, it's a Leo, or whatever. It's giving you all the fundamental numbers, but we haven't went back to, I can study that. And it gives us everything we need to know about us. My phrase is, or in cosmophysics, we say when we studied astrology in elementary school, we built pyramids. As soon as they took astrology out of elementary schools, we moved into projects. Get back into the numbers, control your house, and then we'll start to have more, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, control your house by cutting the TV off, but you start dictating what is it that we're going to study, and we have to learn who we are. When the Egyptians were talking about know thyself, they didn't just mean I'm brown, I'm red, I'm black. It meant what are my numbers? When you hear your blood pressure is such and such, that's an indicator. But when you know what time you were born and you look at these sciences, they're not over your head. They're very elementary. You know, we're talking, you don't have to count to 360. That's not that hard. And when we go back to the fundamentals of it, if we say somebody stole something from me, how do I steal it back? I steal it back by looking at my own numbers and finding the humility in saying, yo, will you help me? Which for me, I look at communications. We need to talk, or our communications are so messed up because we lack humility. We lack humility about, I need to ask her for help, or I need to ask the brother back in the back to do something for me, or things like that. We got one thing I feel that we inherited from this so-called devil or whatever is his ego. You know what I'm saying? We took in his ego and He does the blame game. So now we can up the blame game too, instead of saying, I'm gonna be accountable for me, mine, and my children. I'm gonna teach you this math, you're gonna sit down, and this is the original math. That's how I
You want to add on something?
Well, for me, I send my children to public school. My kids go to public school. But also, we have extracurricular activities that we are involved in. My children learn Habesha. My son just came back from France, Spain, and Africa. So I make sure that I do my part in making sure that all my children know who they are, know where they come from. And when we're talking about media, I tell my kids, okay, hey, you looking at TV, you repeat anything you see on TV. You will not watch TV for the rest of the year. I say, if you take any of this crap seriously, do you believe this? Do you really think that chickens fall out of the sky? Okay, then you don't need to watch TV no more. TV is an entertainment too. I watch TV. There's a few programs I like to watch on TV. But I have the understanding to tell my kids, this is some bull hickey-ficky that you're looking at. It's just entertainment. Laugh at it, shut it off, and go on with real life. In terms of our responsibility to one another, because I did want to say something on that, I think that a lot of times we move forward to other relationships without dealing with what we dealt with in the last relationship. We got relationship PTSD. We carrying old stuff into our new stuff. So as long as we doing that without dealing with what's going on first, we're going to continue to have issues. I'm a two-time divorcee. And without giving you too much personal background on that, I'll say this. I take responsibility for my part in the failure of those relationships. I did the same thing twice. So that's on me. I don't walk around saying, hey, they did me wrong, they did me this, they did me that. What happened is what happened. And our response to what happened is what happened. We have to start taking responsibility for that. And I think a lot of times, with the brothers and defining malehood and stuff like that, a lot of us didn't even have no daddy coming up. So we're basing motherhood and fatherhood and womanhood and manhood off of some street stuff, or off of what we saw. Now, I was raised by a single mother, strong woman. She married a couple of times throughout my life, but for the most part, she was a single mother. And she did the best she could in showing me how to have a healthy relationship. Now, what I did learn is that nobody signed up to do this parenthood stuff by themselves. Everybody went into having children for the most part with the expectancy of longevity. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Those relationships that Rob was talking about in demise, mine was one of them. However, I'm not in the business of going on with something just so the kids can have a solid union. No disrespect to those who feel like that's what they gotta do. We all do what we feel like we need to do. For me, for Taj Anwar, that was my choice. I didn't feel like my kids needed to see me and the king man pissed off, arguing over whatever we was arguing over, or just having bad vibes, because for the most time we didn't argue in front of them. But just, walking past each other, ignoring each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like the kids didn't even see that. If anything, what they see now is a cooperative relationship with myself and my two children's fathers. When my oldest kid's father picks up his kids, quote unquote, he picks up my child with the other man as well. When my kids come back home, sometimes he drops off his new daughter. So you want to talk about ego? Check your ego at the door, because if you want to show your kids that things can be maintained, you show that you can work together. That it's not about, what you may or may not personally feel. Now, I have no feelings for my exes or anything like that, but they see the cooperative relationship. They see me take their oldest child, my oldest kid's father's daughter. And that's not my daughter, quote unquote, but we're a family, we're a unit, we work together. You gotta do that.
I appreciate that. And Dr. Tyler actually led us into our next topic that we're going to talk about. Sometimes most of our relationships, well, not most, I don't want to say most, but a lot of our relationships in our communities are what she spoke of, blended families, right? And when we have blended families, there are some expectations that we may have coming in. Some may be a bit unreasonable. Some of them may be something that is along the alignment that we think is best for the children, but it's sometimes us dealing with our own ego in that relationship and things of that nature. So I want you all to speak about when it comes to relationships in general, but particularly when it talks about families. What are some of the expectations that people may have, and then what are some of the truths that people experience once they get into those relationships? Because there's a certain expectation that we have, but then there's a certain truth that we encounter.
I'm going to respond to that, but I just want to respond to a couple of other things. One of the things I want to respond to is the television, because I hear people say that quite often as entertainment, and it is entertainment, but what kind of entertainment? And I think we really have to be very, very careful because there's a lot of stuff on social media and a lot of stuff on the television, because everything is energy, everything has vibration, sound, light, and all that. People internalize that, so even if we think we're not internalized, it's in there. It gets in there, and it gets into the children. Remember, like some of the most impressionable years. So we really, really have to look at that. One of the things I wanted to also say is that we talk about parenting. Most of us didn't start out parenting. We started out with sex, and then ended up with parenting. So people didn't have a plan. So there's something called Planned Parenthood, and a lot of people don't just it doesn't start out like that. So then now you end up it starts with sex, and you end up with being a parent, and nobody had a plan in place for how we're going to do this thing. So that's how we end up having a lot of drama. I think ultimately a lot of the stuff also when we talk about expectations, a lot of us go into, I think, relationships with false expectations, or just expectations based on whatever our ideal is about what things are supposed to be. It has nothing to do with anything that anybody else, the other person expects things to be. And so then all the stuff starts to come together, and then it starts to get to clash. And a lot of us transport a lot of what we have, what happened in our childhood into a relationship. So, and that stuff starts to play out. If we don't go through and heal and figure out some of the wounds that happened as a result of our childhood and our early experiences, it begins to play itself out over and over again. And then the last thing I want to say is that most of us, unfortunately, it's not our fault, we don't have a skill set. Most of us don't. Nobody told us how to communicate. If you don't have two parents, you probably haven't even seen parents communicate in the way it's happening. Some of us have had parents who communicate, and then they didn't have, so we don't even have any models about how to do it. So it's really about we live in a culture that does not emphasize the significance and importance of having a skill set to be able to navigate the terrains and all these expectations that we bring with us into relationships.
Not so much going into the topic that you just spoke about, just kind of adding into what you were speaking previously. I think that a lot of the issues we have is the fact that we don't look at relationship as service. We look at it more so as what can I get out of it, and not so much how I'm going to serve that person. And when you look at it that way, you're forced to, anytime you engage in conflict with your other half, you're forced to analyze yourself and say, okay, what did I do wrong? What can I have done better? Those are my two boys over there. I have 5 children in all. And for a while it was just me and my 3 oldest sons. And anytime they argue, I sit them in the room and I tell them, figure out what you could have done differently to prevent that argument, regardless of how it started. Because when 2 people argue, you have to analyze yourself. So if we don't think about relationships in the sense of being a servant, not a slave, but in the sense of being a servant, then it's going to be hard for us to analyze our own fault. When we analyze our own fault, we'll constantly point fingers. That's all I want to say now.
Peace. That's the point. This is the point I also. I wanted to touch on something that was spoken on. I think Taj did a good job because a lot of people don't invest time in their children. But I wanted to speak on television too because she can be productive and people can be productive, but it takes a lot of work. But for the most part of a lot of our people, with television, your brain doesn't tell the difference between reality and fiction. It deals with empathetic neurons, just like if you see a Denzel movie, Denzel die, you cry, but you know Denzel's alive, why are you crying? Because your brain has a hard time telling the difference between reality and what's fake and what's fiction. So these are one of the things that we have to analyze. Even when you I used to a lot, when you're watching American Idol, you ever watch the show, and somebody's singing a song and they're tearing it up. I mean, they're blowing at the top of their lungs. Your brain starts to tingle. Because your body is telling you that you're singing this. And you even feel it, you like, You start to get involved and you don't even know the words. It's because empathetic neurons doesn't tell the difference between you and another person, and sometimes my empathetic neurons are messed up. And what I wanted to talk on, what my brother Shah was talking about is, and Prince was talking about, is intersexual mate selection. The problem, that's the biggest problem in our relationships, is intersexual mate selection, which I speak about in the book. The truth be told, men have actual better mate selection than women, whether you believe it or not. Well, hold on.
This week is high.
Hold on. Now you say men are sleep with anybody. That's true, but that's not his mate. That's not who he would call his mate when it comes to picking someone he's buckling down with. He picks someone who's just like his mother. He has someone to look up to, and he mimics someone who's just like his mother. When our sisters don't have a father to look up to, or they can't emulate, they can't figure out how this man is supposed to look or what he's supposed to look like. So a lot of times in our journey, we're creating this image that's on TV that, like we said, it isn't really the black man. So a lot of times men are more moved by what their friends have to say about it. Like men are like, oh, yo, I don't like her, she don't look good. Oh, you don't like her? I can't rock. Men are more influenced by what's around them and their surroundings, so they depend more on, and they're more picky in their selection. Where women a lot of times come into a relationship where I can build them up and make him what I want him to be, and I don't care if nobody like him, I like him, you know? And that's the thing, because we base our relationships off of potential, and our relationships are not supposed to be based off of potential. It's supposed to be based off of what you see. Now, he going to college, but what did he do after college? You know what I mean? Because he could drop out the next semester. There's a lot of things that we have potential. All of us have potential. That's just our life. But we got to live through it and build up, and that's all I want to say.
I just wanted to build off of the healing aspect. You know, as far as relationships go, a lot of people get out of relationships and get into another relationship just to cover up the relationship they just got out of. And they will put the expectation on what they had for the last relationship on this relationship without even giving this relationship to blossom into what it could be. So, you know, I really feel like expectations is a lot of what happens wrong in a relationship, because we expect somebody to see things the way we see it. And when they don't see it, or for an example, again, what Brother Nasi was saying, someone will maybe see a potential in a man and be like, yo, I can get him to do this. I know if he did this, he'll be a better person. But when he does not conform to the way you wanted him to be, now he ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? He ain't SHIT. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like these expectations, they conflict with the truth of what he is showing you who he is. And because of love and emotion, we tend to be like, that red flag, I ain't see that red flag. And you know, you may have friends that tell you like, yo, you seen, I seen it with such, you don't know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? This, that, and the third. So it's like, we, not, and compounded with, if there is a birth taking place within this relationship, I think a woman needs at least 2 to 3 years to recoup from having a baby just to get herself back into a balance. And then you may have another baby like right after this. So now instead of those 3 years, you got 6 years to having to recoup. And now you have the man over here trying to figure out, walking on eggshells, just trying to figure out what's supposed to keep her happy. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, if you're getting into a relationship with someone because they make you happy, is a false sense of reality, because happiness begins with self. If you're looking for someone to make you happy, you will eventually be unsuccessful in this task.
Push the envelope a little bit. Like, we a lot of liars. You know what I'm saying? Like, we professional liars.
You say we, who's the we you're speaking of?
The men and females, everybody who's watching, everybody who hear my voice, who's an adult, who's had sex before, everybody who's not a virgin. My parents, I got it. So I got some people who I'm not talking to. You know what I'm saying? So especially if you're 5 years old and you know you're a virgin, I ain't talking to you. Everybody older than that, I'm talking to you. And right, so, and the reason is because if you don't know who you are, the opposite of knowing who I am is lying. Period. You see what I'm saying? We don't put the study into who we are. We date potential, and then we become Captain Save a Bro or Captain Save a Hoe. You see what I'm saying? I can save him, or I can do this for her, and I don't check the facts she ain't got the facts to give me because it's just been passed down to lie. We move, I really respect what she said about, yo, I don't even want them to see the dishonesty and the energy that we walk around. So let's just separate it so we can show them only honesty. That was the illest thing I heard, up to this, from her about being honesty at the core of it, because a relationship is a business as well as a martial art. And if you're not honest with your weight distribution or with your this or that and the third, then how can you successfully win? You can't successfully win if the other person is telling me about potential, or if I'm looking for potential. And we got the lie historically from this romance. I'm just vigilant against, I hate romance. I love relationship science, but I hate romance. Romance comes from the Romantic period, which was the French who didn't take baths. They took the perfume and covered up the funk. And then they got a ghostwriter and said, write me an ill lyric. I went and read it to her and said, I'm gonna make love to you all night. Lord, I'm a 2-minute brother, but he can do it all night. But he's poor, so I got the money. I paid him, I wrote the rhyme. She came and said, okay, I'll marry you. And then that's how the Romantic period started. And now we pick up these lyrics. You got game? Yeah, I know you gotta have game to get this girl. And then, but where do we get game from? Possibly got game from my mama. So now here's all this game that we're playing and portraying. Women got so much. They got the makeup and the hair. We don't know what they really look like until I marry them. Or such and such, or we done slept with them 4 or 5 times, and then they feel comfortable taking the top off. You see what I'm saying? And for the men, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, dude, you found out he had a sock in his leg. You was like, oh, she's looking at the print. So we've been taught to come through with this lie until we come through with honest, brutally honest conversations in our relationships. This is going to keep on being things for the media to pick up. And then back to the thing about the media for the children, you'll get a camera and put your child in front of the camera and make them a media star, period. Because water fills a hole. You don't take care of them, somebody else will. You don't put them in front of that, put them in front of that, because the television's not going anywhere, the internet's not going anywhere, the Illuminati's not going to shut it down. So go ahead and take control of that vice. We have a camera you can get for $40, and YouTube you post for free, and put them in there, write a script, and be like, bam, this is what we're going to say, ready, act, take, bam. And let them become a star. And let them say, put your little brother there, now you be the producer. And then they can have the experience of taking over a device that makes billions of dollars. Because we ignore so many, what I call low-hanging fruit in economics, in relationships. Because you women, y'all want to see what's carrot, what's the carrot on the finger and such and such.
I see deals different kind of puzzle on that. So we'll let Dig the mic. Speak your mind. I saw the facial looks and whatnot.
It's just, I'm not for putting my children.
Okay, go ahead. Speak on it.
I'm just not. Having our children on, it's kind of exploiting our children. I don't even want my little ones' pictures on Facebook and stuff like that. So I just disagree with that, because I think we set them up for and putting them in a world that they're not ready for just yet. We have so many people that here's my baby this, my baby that, and it's like we're not allowing them to, if they want to embrace and share with the world their experience, their life when they're old enough to, then we're giving them that choice. But as a parent, as the protector of these children, I'm careful with that.
Okay, so one of the things that we also want to talk about, we talked about, did anyone else want to talk about the expectations versus truth when it comes to relationships or just in general? Let me speak on that shit very quickly. I think sometimes when we look at our communities, particularly with social media, people want to portray themselves in a certain kind of way. And yet the truth is, just because a person portrays themselves online like that, on a planet called Earth, sometimes those things never appear. So I think that kind of adds to what's going on in our community sometimes. People are putting these expectations, so when you meet them in real life, it shouldn't be unreasonable for me to expect you to be who you say you are. And yet the truth is, sometimes it's far away from that. It's a whole different type of thing. And again, if you're a young person, then I'm really not expecting you to be anything but young. You're still grown. But I'm talking about people that are, 30 and older, that are on there, that want to kind of create these different personas online, and yet in real life you don't hardly see them ever. You don't know whether they even exist. And it goes down to even some of the conscious artists that, you know, you have 5,000 Facebook friends or whatever the case and Twitter followers, but then you can't get 10 people to come pay $10 to your show. What's going on with that? So there's a certain expectation, a certain truth that we don't deal with in real life because nobody wants to kind of be labeled or whatever they're being labeled. That's the beautiful thing about being a minister. You can preach to people all the time, and even if they don't like it, they're probably not going to say anything to you. So it's all good.
Expectations, we get that a lot from our parents. Once again, this is going to go back to.
But now we are the parents. So, you know, it's like, you know, as Todd spoke on, a lot of us, you know, particularly as men, may not have grown up with our fathers, but I know I come from a whole generation that we didn't grow up with our fathers, so it's very important for us to be the best fathers that we can. So, you know, there's certain things that we pick up from our parents, but we don't necessarily need to carry on those traditions. So, you know, we can say that we got this and that from our parents, but when do we make those changes when we see that some of the things that we got from mom and dad and them, it ain't working. It ain't helping us to get to where we're trying to get to, so how do we go about changing those things?
Yeah, but that's going back to the media. We don't always, it's tough to just say, like, you're a minister servant. Like, you know, who you are, and some of the really manly men have been in a position around men, but what about those who have been emasculated by their mothers? And their mother said, you know what I'm saying, what you're going to do right here is clean that chandelier. You're going to do this right here. You're going to wash them dishes. And that's what he got. And he hasn't been around any men. So at any time, 18, 22, 35, he should break away. But that's the expectations while he's out here socially. He's looking good because his mom says, yo, dress up. And then all of a sudden, the woman sees him and he doesn't know the truth yet. He doesn't know the truth. So his expectations are very similar to what he got from his parent or parents. Because I do agree that a lot of us didn't grow up with their father or mother. So, you know, some of those expectations are coming from what we learned in the house.
I would say on expectations, if anybody was to be able to have expectations, it would be parents with their children up until a certain point. You know what I'm saying? You do have expectations of your child to basically listen to what you have to say in the household. You don't listen, you don't work, you don't pay no bills, you get out. So you do have an expectation of your child to carry on a certain way because your child represents what you put down. So I don't believe in expectations of an adult from another adult. Is what I really don't believe in. Is because you're setting yourself up for disappointment. You know what I'm saying? It's constant. You will constantly set yourself up for disappointment because it's like you expect. It's almost like a slave mentality. You know what I'm saying? The overseer expects the slave to act a certain way, and if the slave steps out of that line, then you're gonna handle that. You know what I'm saying? So you cannot put your expectations as an adult on another adult because that adult has expectations of themselves.
Even if you're in a relationship with that person?
Excuse me?
Even if you're in a relationship, you shouldn't have any expectations of how it should be?
If you do, me personally, I don't put expectations on.
Let's hear from the other panelists. If you're in a relationship, is it unreasonable to have any kind of expectations of the person you're in a relationship with? Or is it just like, you know, the way Rob said it?
Well, I think there's some, you know, you get married, you expect fidelity, right? So there's going to be some expectations, some unspoken expectations. But I think what we were talking about is those things that we come in. Well, my mother did it like this, and my father did it like this, and you got to do it like my mama did it, like my dad did it, like me. He told me you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a man. Like I've heard women say, you're supposed to pay the mortgage. A man's supposed to pay the mortgage. And I'm like, well, by whose definition? So it's those kinds of things when we're talking about that. But in terms of just the basic, you know, so there are some expectations, but there has to be communication about it. That's the difference. You know, so when people have communication about what I expect from you as a husband, as a father, as a, you know, and what I expect from you as a wife, as a mother, those kind of things. But a lot of this stuff, and that's what the topic of this panel is about having open, frank, honest conversation. Communication about what these things are, and then being realistic with each other and honest with each other about what we realistically and honestly can do.
Can I see one?
I was just gonna say, I know we were talking about the social media piece and how people create personas. I think for the most part, what most people like about me is I am who I say I am, and I give you an honest depiction of my life. I talk about my son who is autistic, who doesn't make those great grades that everybody else posts about their families. You know what I'm saying? So I keep it 100% funky. With that being said, I told y'all that I was kind of going to say I was Captain Superwoman. I was that. I thought like, yeah, I like this dude, but if I put some time and energy into him and his dream and what he's trying to do, and he's gonna do this and turn around and do this, and then when that didn't happen, I'm like, yo, what the hell? And you know, I have my expectations, you know, and every time I try to communicate those expectations after the fact, it made them uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like, why you stressing me? It was always that. So, like Dr. Dixon said, man, we got to communicate these expectations from the gate, because maybe had I said, I expect you to X, Y, Z, he could have been like, no, I don't flow like that, and I could have thrown him the deuces and not have been in that situation. You know what I'm saying? So, I advise everybody, if you're going to have an expectation of somebody, communicate that from the gate, because what I've learned now is I don't have expectations of anybody other than for them to be themselves. So that way, I'm not disappointed. But if I have an expectation, I expect, if me and Rob in a situation, Rob, I expect for you to tell me if I smell, right? And if I walk into a room, everybody like, oh my God, gosh, what are you smelling you? And then I hear somebody say, Rob, why didn't you tell me that? Because Rob didn't want to hurt my feelings. So I say that to say, we gotta be honest with one another. I expect this from you. This is what I expect from my mate. So if you say that and they feel like they can't get down with it, at least you know from the start before you say, okay, I'm gonna overlook that and get into a situation with them. Because you don't be ready. Don't be Captain Saving nobody. You know what I'm saying? Let that person already be saved before you enter into a situation with them. It's one thing to have a person's back, but ain't nobody got time to be no grown folks' mama other than people that they give birth to.
Word.
So.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm sorry. I'm just
No.
gonna add on, be real quick. I think also when it comes to expectations, I think when you're looking for a mate or you out in the day game, I think you have to know yourself enough to know what you want and desire. Because it took me years to know myself, to understand what I really desired and expected in a woman. And I only have one expectation, that she does not have a manufactured mind, that she's not socially geared to thinking delusional or lopsided. Because I say that because we can get with an individual, they can be right, you know what I'm saying? But unless if you understand yourself enough to know what you want, you're gonna be doing damage control for the remainder of your relationship. You understand what I'm saying? You know, like 6 months in, like, yo, I don't know if I can rock with this chick. Like, yo, I don't know if I can rock with this dude. And so now you try to settle, you try to compromise. Kind of like what Taj was saying. You know it ain't right. You know it wasn't really what you wanted. But I think that you have to know yourself. And something Nasi said earlier about a man chooses a better mate. And that is so true. And I built with this with Rob. My parents been married 43 years, happily married. When we grew up in the house, I've never seen my parents fight. I've never seen them fuss. I've never seen them argue. There was never no infidelity. So as I got older, I looked for certain things in a woman that resembled my mother, because it was a proving formula that this is what works in a relationship. There wasn't anything that came into our household that was society and influence and manufacturing. Our house was our house. My mom was my mom and my dad was my dad. My dad was a cold-blooded street gangster. My mama was a bookworm. But it worked for 43 or 44 years. And what they did was, my dad, like, he really didn't know himself, but my mom brought things up out of him. But because she wasn't manufactured, she was flexible, she was open, she was willing to learn, she wasn't damaged goods. You know, 43, 44 years later, we're talking about happy marriage. So when it comes to expectation, you gotta be real too, because nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, you know. We can be the best that we want for our mate, but I think when it comes to expectations, you first got to know yourself to know what you desire, what you want. There's some things that you want you really don't need in a relationship. You know, my man was, what's his name? Kair, I'm sorry, brother. He made a lot of good points about a lot of us are liars. I used to be one of them, and I'll be real, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, it wasn't until I knew myself as far as what I wanted in a woman. And I'm going to give a little suggestion to the brothers and the sisters. When you meet an individual, you know, you had that conversation like, what you look for in a mate? Don't have that conversation. See if they got it already, and then rock with it. Because if you tell them what they want, they ain't the person for you, and they see something in you that can take advantage of, they're going to be that person until you prove that they're not. So when it comes to meeting people, see if they got it first. Don't even have that conversation. I never tell a woman what I look for, because if she ain't got it, then I already know. this ain't gonna last long.
All right, it's gonna pick up. Don't worry, everybody gonna grab the mic soon. Expectations. I was thinking about that. We all should have expectations, right? But if you really consider it and think about it, what are you expecting from somebody that's in a society that's brainwashed? What are you really expecting from them? You have to see somebody that's ready to pull away from society or doing things on their own. You have to see people that's growing their own food, that's creating their own community, because we are, how do you think evolution happens? Evolution happens through epigenetics. Epigenetics means you change genetically because of your surroundings and what's going on around you. So if we really, like, if you pick up a man and he's listening to Biggie Smalls or he's listening to something else, you best believe that there's something that's in the subconscious of his mind that's going to destroy your relationship, because it's already there, it's planted. So our expectations have to be based off of reality. It has to be based off reality, and we have to create our own reality. I don't think Coach was talking about putting our children out there just to be seen, but what he was talking about is creating a counterculture. If we don't create a counterculture, we are doomed. This whole relationship, you can stop it. Even the most spiritual people in the world are suffering. They're suffering because the society is plaguing. Even when we fight, we still at the worst of our end. Another thing is, you have to be real to yourself. And sisters, I say this, and brothers and sisters love different. Men and women love different. We have to understand that a man doesn't love like a woman doesn't love like a man. A man is a more territorial, protective love. A woman is a more nurturing, caring love and intuition. And the man has intuition also. He has more of a protective intuition. They have different gifts. So we're expecting everybody to love the same, because a man is not into certain things the way that you are. It's because you're more drawn to that or more prone to do that. And these are the things. And one more thing. Our sisters, you have to realize that our sister's not built to be with multiple men. And I say that because when a sister engages in sexual acts with a man, she releases an oxytocin in her body that bonds into that man for the rest of her life. So, and the only time this happens is when the woman is breastfeeding, when she's giving birth, and when she has sex with a male. When these things happen, a woman could be destroyed because she's been in different relationships and in and out. And then, so even if she finds somebody good, she has a lot of insecurity into her, because all she's seen is people transforming and transitioning out of her life. So she's naturally bonded to certain individuals, and a lot of stuff that comes through that could be from a past relationship. And these things happen to men too. But we have to really understand the psychology of this thing and stop expecting people to be who you want them to be and to be some fixed people. We're not fixed, we're damaged. We all destroyed. So I'm not going to say we 100% good and we all of this, we're not. We have to talk about really what's plaguing us in order for this, because even if some of us, you know, and the most problems you're going to see is in the conscious community. That's the way you're going to see the most problems, because your expectations are so high. I thought you was connected with Rod. I thought you was one with a two. I thought you was one with God. He told me this, he told me that. But he's just like anybody else. And it's not his fault that he put that on media, because that's what he really wants to be. He just doesn't have the ability and the surroundings and the counsel and support to make him who he's supposed to be.
Excellent point. So,
I mean, I think when we speak about expectations, one of the problems that we're having is that we're not working on ourselves. We're expecting somebody to be something, but we're not putting that expectation on ourselves. We haven't really defined what we are. We're walking into a relationship and we're trying to define who that person has to be. And that's the biggest issue. We're only setting ourselves up for failure, not because the person is not living up to our expectation, but it's because we ourselves, we don't even know who the hell we are. So if we don't know who we are, then we truly don't know what we expect from that person. And that's why a lot of times a person, you may meet somebody who your friends may tell you, okay, you know, they're everything that you said you wanted, but then you still find fault with them because you really haven't felt without loving yourself. You haven't loved yourself. And that's the biggest problem, is ourself. We can sit here all day and talk about the opposite sex, but what do we do to build ourselves up and make ourselves worthy and qualified to be able to engage in any type of relationship with someone else?
The other thing is, I think, we have to, I don't think we emphasize enough how much we have to really look at values underlying a lot of that stuff. Because this culture sells us a certain set of values. One of them primarily is materialism, sexism, all that stuff. But we have to really understand what's the value set that's fueling what our expectations are. Right? So I think that we need to look at that. I have something else to look at.
I would say the last thing on expectations is expectation goes unspoken. And that seems to be the problem. Like when we expect, we don't speak on it. We just expect. And communication breaks, is basically, it diffuses expectation. Because, you know, it's like, I just expect you to do something. I'm not going to tell you, you know, like most women, and I'm not saying I'm trying to fake for a woman, but in my experience, a woman will expect you to read her mind and do what she thinks you're supposed to be doing, as opposed to letting you know what you want to do, what she wants you to do, or what you know. Again, expecting what she wants you to do, and then when you don't read her mind, now in some way, form, or fashion, you are, you know, basically penalized for it. So I believe again the communication will diffuse expectation. Because again, like when I expect something out of my son, you know, baby or my child, I might not tell them. I'm gonna see what they're gonna do, and then when they're gonna do what I thought they were supposed to do, now I'm on them. You know what I'm saying? So when we communicate, you know what I'm saying, in the beginning, it's like, yo, man, this is what I do, this is what I go by. You know what I'm saying? We go by a lot of attraction. Oh, she got a nice butt, or she got a nice frame. You know what I'm saying? She rock her hair this way. So we're caught up in the attraction as opposed to more of what we need. You know what I'm saying? We do a lot of wanting. You know what I'm saying? We like a lot, like my grandfather used to say, we buy what we want and we beg for what we need. You know what I'm saying? And I believe with just the communication, and that's you know, that is why I put this communication is key. We have to learn how to speak to each other, and not only speak to each other, but speak to each other with a respect. You know what I'm saying? Because if you getting at me a certain way, you can be giving me the answer to cancer, but the way you getting at me, I don't hear none of that. You know what I'm saying? So there are certain ways, especially with black men and what we deal with. And again, I'm not saying black women don't deal with it. I think that's one of the problems with black men. We tend to think that we're the only people that are going through some type of struggle and some type of conspiracy that they out to get us. And we leave our women out there not knowing that, okay, not only are they out to get her, but they have basically got us in her head to manipulate what she is supposed to be thinking too. So it's just like, you know, our expectations need to be communicated, and once the communication is there, then we should be able to say, well, you know what, I'm down with that, or nah, I'm cool, I don't think I'm gonna be able to accommodate that.
Okay. Yeah, as we're gonna break this up into different sections, just so we're just not talking. And so in this first section, are there any questions that the audience have for any of the panelists, anything we talked about in this first part? Any questions?
Well, I was wondering if you had any advice as far as when you say we should take our kids out of school. I agree that kids and the schooling system it hinders some of their progress. But for all of us parents who work during those school hours, you know, what are some of those suggestions to help combat that?
That's a political discussion.
That sounds like it's probably a question with someone like me.
That's the second question.
Yeah.
You good?
Am I good? Okay, cool. For a lot of us who work, sometimes, for the most part, public school is probably our only option. And, you know, we can agree to disagree on that, but the first school is at the crib, okay? So it don't matter where your kids go to school at. Now, I told Rob I was going to keep funky, so when my voice changed, you know, I'm going to keep funky with you. It don't matter where your kids go to school at. You school. Okay? Your kids are a product of you, not of the school, not of the world. They are a product of you. So if you don't put nothing into them, they ain't gonna have nothing in them. Okay? So my suggestion to any parent that has to do that, you seek out resources in your community. There are several programs, that you can get your child down with for cost or for no cost. There are plenty of brothers in the community who will mentor your sons. There are plenty of sisters in the community who will take your daughters under their wing. You just got to seek those resources out. For me, I put my children in the hobby shop under Baba Kashan. I've known Kashan for 20 years. And he's like a second father to my kids. All the brothers in the community are actually like Sir, Bob, all of them. But there are resources out there with, who will put energy into your children as well. It will show them and teach them their originalness, who they really are. It will teach them about Africa and about Kemet and, you know, teach them from whence they came. So for me, I live in the city, I live downtown. That's a resource that I use. I send my kids to hobby shop, so that's how I was able to, you know, get them to Africa, stuff like that. Also, the schools also offer travel abroad programs. You know, I'm a big believer in world travel and being a world student. So I bust my butt to make sure that my kids are able to go overseas. I take my kids overseas and they will also do the school trips. So there are resources out there. You just got to seek them out. If you need help, just holler at me. I'm around.
She either has the sun in the ninth house, or she has a Jupiter conjunct her sun because she loves international travel. Just me listening, I already know what's in her chart. So I am not one to say take your child out of school, because if you have him at home and he's not learning astrology, you're still wasting time. If he knows astrology or she knows astrology at the house, and she should be counting, you can teach them how to count to 360 by 30s. Everybody in the room, stop teaching your children to count by 10s. That's a retardation process. To count by 30s, then you're going to have an advanced child. It opens, it expands the mind by those 20 degrees. They'll be more advanced than anybody else because you're teaching them how to count. You teach them how to count by 30s, let them go to school and learn how to count by 10s. Boom, straight A's in math. We took care of that. Then they got a scholarship. That takes money, put money back into your pocket. But they need to learn that, even if it's only an hour a day or 30 minutes, add it to what their homework is, because I think they need social skills. Because if you have two wives and you're a brother like Nasi, and it's in his chart to do that, to hold that kind of government structure, then yes. But if you don't have the chart that supports homeschooling at home, then you're headed for chaos. If you don't know what your chart tells you, and then you try it anyway, you're headed for chaos. Some people are straight monogamous, everything about them. You got Venus in Capricorn, you got Venus in Taurus, don't try it. But if you got Venus in Gemini, or it's the planet, it's one planet is telling you how you do relationships, you don't study it. Take you 45 minutes, not per day, one time. One time. That will go back to the liar and lazy. The L in liar stand for lazy. The L in lazy stand for liar. We have to do the basic work of getting back to know ourselves and like she said, find somebody who will teach you. If you don't know it, call my number. You know what I'm saying? I do children for free. It's you adults I charge out the ass because you lazy. So that's what you should pay extra. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, find somebody who will show that to them. And if you don't believe in it, then look what you're risking. Look what you're risking, because the Jewish cat is teaching his child, the Chinese cat is teaching their child, and we have an 85% divorce rate in the African American community. You don't like that word, I'm sorry, black, melanated. But the Hindus who do this have a 3% divorce rate, because they look at the chart, they put the children together at like 5 or 6, they be like, you got an Aries? What you got? You got a Cancer? Yeah, we'll put them together. Can't rock with your Sagittarius because it's going to be an opposition right here in the chart. So no matter how they do it, they can play together, but they ain't going to do that. And then they work into love. And now when you got that problem as they get to 18, 19, they demand all these conversations about it. It's much more natural.
Okay.
For the sister speaking about public schooling, I definitely am an advocate of homeschooling. I'm an advocate of African-centered education. My 4 boys are all going to public school, and we're behind enemy lines. So when I send them out in the day to go to that school, I give them my objective. I tell them their orders, and when they go out there, their job is to intellectually assassinate whoever is deemed as the smartest kid in that school. And I tell them that they go in there, find out who it is, whoever is the smartest, and you intellectually assassinate. And I don't care if they do it or if they don't do it. I mean, 3 of them won honor. I've had one that was labeled as having significant STD. And he's actually doing better than kids who have no quote-unquote label. You know, we didn't put them on drugs or anything like that. We didn't, you know, send them to get, you know, dedicated time for any type of therapist. What I did do is I told them to understand his divine nature. I told them who they are. And in knowing who they are, they know, based off of what I teach in my household, that nobody can dominate their psyche. They have to dominate whatever environment they go into. And dominating don't mean they have to be the best person or get the highest grades. But at the end of the day, they have to be satisfied with their job. That I give them a mission objective, and their job is to come back home and say, I completed my mission. Please.
Let me add on to that as far as the school spot, because again, one of the challenges that happens in our community when it does come to homeschooling or private school, as the brother said, everybody's not equipped to do homeschool. Most certainly, everyone is not equipped. I mean, it's a great idea, and even with some of the emphasis in private school, sometimes the economic becomes a challenge. I mean, we may want to have our child there, but we simply can't afford it. But what we know is whether it's public school or private schools, the most effective students are the students that have the most parental involvement, period. So you can't so-called put your child in so-called good school and not do anything. Or you can't have your child in so-called bad school and not do anything. At the end of the day, it's you as a parent. That's the factor, whether that child's going to be effective, just like you said, that whether your child's in public school or private school, if you teach them, this is about your education. You know, I work in a program for the city of Atlanta as a consultant to a program called Youth Build. And we work with 16 to 24-year-olds to help them get their GED. And what's interesting about it is when you talk to somebody, a 21-year-old, that basic sentence structure, and they may not drop out of school until 11th grade. And that third grade stuff they don't know. You know, while we can be mad at the school systems, I'm often talking about the parents. Because again, as Todd was saying, the first the first teachers are the parents, namely the mothers. Because even if the father is in the home, the mother is the dominant influence, particularly of a child. So we have to make sure that we are actively involved, even if our child is in public school, or especially if our child is in public school, that we are actively involved. Because when those teachers and administrators know that you are actively involved, you better believe your child gets a different look. Believe that. So with that being said, we're going to have a quick break. We're going to take a 15-minute intermission. We do have vendors out there. We have Elise Bennett, who has the vegan food, and we also have the Intimate Cravings, which is not vegan food. And we have, give it up our DJ back here, DJ okay? So, mix and mingle with some folks as we're on our intermission, and we're going to come right back.
say, hey, I want to heal you, but I do need it. In a relationship, you know, and so I make my peace on the slavery part.
Okay.
I think, again, I'm also one who feels like we were not all from slaves. I really believe a lot of us were already here and we were put into a mind state of I would say, abduction. And what we have now with the promiscuous ways of our generation with having children everywhere, this is no different than when they sent a buck in to mate with these women, but he was not allowed to build a relationship with the child that he had. And it's almost like we're doing the same thing now. Like, you know, we come in, we count babies, but we're not there to take care of the babies. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if you look at it now, like the child support game is pretty much the whole slavery situation going over again, because you have a woman that is basically responsible for the child, and you have a man who basically bears the child, but he is not allowed to have any type of interaction or authority over this child. You know what I'm saying? So I think that brings a lot of, from what they did.
What keeps them having any authority over the child?
Well, you know, because of the miseducation in the relationship, we can have a lot of, it can be to where the court gets into the relationship, the bitterness, maybe I don't think you're doing what I want you to do for the child, so therefore you can't see your child until I say you're doing right by the child. I'm not saying men necessarily don't want to, but there is a lot of protocol with once this child is in the picture, everything changes. And now I have a leverage on you to make you do pretty much as I say, and if you're not doing the way I say it, then I'll bring the court system into it, not knowing that once we sign these papers over to the court that we're getting child support, we basically will have signed our children into the system. And the courts will basically leave the child with the mother until they feel that she's not right for their property now, and they'll put the child into the system. So I think it's a repetitive situation with how we were viewed and how we were used to breed. Because like when you see Ayala Van Zandt, and they have this one man that has these 34 children from 17 women. I personally feel like this is the main reason why there are so many black men in prison now, because if one man can produce 34 children, imagine if 100 black men decided to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's a threatening situation. You know.
Okay, I mean, just to kind of add on that, threatening in what way? Is it
threatening, well, to European structure. Because I mean, you got one man producing 34 children.
But if he's not raising those 34 children, then those 34 children didn't have the potential at least becoming a burden on their community and you know, having this system of you know, the same cycle going on and on. So is that
I'm not necessarily going that far, but I'm just saying the fact that he is able to produce at how old was he, like 40? And he had 34 children. I mean, that's serious. And I believe that is one of the reasons why they will give a young black man 30 years on a light crime, so he won't have the time to reproduce in that fashion, because white people are not producing at the rate that we're producing. You know what I'm saying? So it's threatening on their behalf. You know, and of course we do need more community structure. You know what I'm saying? If he was able to raise those 34 children, like case in point, they had, I don't know if you remember, Shorty Lowe was trying to get a TV show going on where
his children's mother.
Okay, now understand, this man was taking care of all 11 of his children, his mothers though. That's what they did not want to show, because young men that look up to Shorty Lowe will be like, yo.
They wanted to show it, but the community kind of, you know, they
got mad at it, but the fact was this man was handling, he had all of his his children's mothers in agreement with each other. They were definitely a unit, and he was taking care of them. And what I was saying is, if they showed the fact that this one man was able to take care of all of his children and his responsibilities, then that may make young black men think like, well, we got to be like Shorty Lowe. He got all his children, and he's being productive with it. And that's what they didn't want to show, and that's why it was canceled, because it could have been counter opposite of what they wanted basically show like, oh, look at this dude out here, he got all these baby mamas and he's a buffoon, or he's just, you know what I'm saying, not doing what he's supposed to do. But in this one, they were always going to show him taking care of all of his responsibility. I believe that is a threat when a black man is able to put that many children out and take care.
Back to Dixon.
This is so complicated, but I just wanted to go back to your first question about the effects of slavery. I'll come back to that too. The effects of slavery, and I don't know. I think most many of us have heard of Dr. Joy's work on post-traumatic slave syndrome. Right. So we have to look at the ideal of group trauma and how that has passed down into generations. So I would say definitely we're still impacted by slavery, and it's mostly a lot of it is with family, but it's black women. We're the ones affected by hair and color. White supremacy affected black women in terms of how they, view themselves, in a more profound way. So there's a lot of ways in which I think slavery, class structure, a lot of that, those things are passed down. And then we want to look at also the inherited pain. Just like we inherit all other kinds of, attributes from our ancestors, we also inherit pain. So that pain still is. The pain from slavery still is. And I think some of it still is. And then I wanted to address his issue in terms of, I don't know about the guy that's going to put on television and all that, but if they weren't doing it, even if he's supporting the children financially, what is the structure? So if you got just a bunch of women he's having children with, and there's no real family structure there, but we're just working in a way that's cooperative, then I don't think that we probably would have been a good thing for them to portray on television. But there is something to say for white males feeling threatened about the way black people reproduce, which is why polygamy, was stamped out all over the world, why they tried to stamp it out all over the world. A lot of it had to do with population control. So they, because they know that white people are the minority in the whole scheme of things, in the whole from a global context. And so black people do reproduce more, and you have African families who have 80 children from one man, and because he has multiple wives. So a lot of that is population control, so there is something to say for that. But in terms of the way we're doing it in the United States, no.
Please.
Of slavery and everything that we have inherited, I think we also inherited fear. And we have this, and it almost permeates everything that we do. And it's the biggest thing that's killing all of our relationships, our parental relationships, our intimate relationships. It's just so many things around the topic just of fear, and you can think from family to family, things that, whether it's your mother or your father basically taught you, and they were teaching you their fears, not things that necessarily for you or for your path. It was, hey, this was something that frightened me, scared me, and it changed my path, so you should watch out for it too. Stay on the watch out, stay on the alert, and we're always so vigilant that we have robbed our own joy we've traded our joy to fear and these false statements.
One of the things that's happened since 2008, when President Obama became president, became the first black president, there have been a number of people that were initially, if we remember, they were talking about a post-racial America. Of course, that was right before the Tea Party said we ain't having none of that post-racial stuff here in America. But there are still black people that the concept of knowing yourself and being proud of your blackness seems to be something that people are challenged with sometimes, because we have the mindset that if we're pro-black, then it somehow makes us anti-anything. And yet, that sometimes has a direct effect on how we interact with each other, particularly when we're in the work environment, in the corporate structure. I'd like for you all to speak on that, the effects of slavery from those that are in denial of their blackness or in denial of their Africanness and believe that, I'm not black. In fact, there's been a couple of celebrities recently that said, I'm not African American, I'm just American. Let's speak on that.
Well, I can't say I can definitely say we inherited something, but it's not like it has to be inherited. It was continuing to be pumped into our mind. And I'll go back to what we were speaking about earlier. Some of your most programming you get are from school. Is from school. You know, some of the most racism I received in my life was from school. And the reason why I say that is because when we talk about post-traumatic slave syndrome, anytime we go into an oppressive system, we're talking about child support, we're talking about, you're above all of this. You have to set up your own communities and your own systems, or you're still going to fall a victim to a lot of things that's put out there. So when we look at school, perfect example, you see the shirt Rob Love has on. I had to fight for my child to be able to wear that at school. Black people told him he had to turn it in and out. And I said, why? He said, because it had a gun on it. I said, your logo is a Minuteman. I said, you're promoting a white man with a gun, but you can't promote a black man with a gun. And I had to explain that I was dealing with the Haitian Revolution and the African Revolution. I had to go up there and fight for that. You know what I'm saying? So what happens then is now my child is what? Labeled a rebel. He's labeled a rebel. So now with all of this said, and my child, listen, from economically, it is, like you said, it's hard. It's hard when you don't have somebody else, even in polygyny. I had to put my children back in school until I find, be economically stable until I can pull them out. So we do have to figure out alternatives. But a lot of our programming, the way we feel, like we having a relationship discussion, right? If the school system was built for black people, for any kind of people, what relationship class you had in school? Not one. The most important thing that you ever choose in your life is your mate. That is the most important decision that you'll ever make in your life, is picking a mate. Because that can depend, like, look, the perfect example, you see the shooting in Seattle. That young boy did that over a relationship. He did it over a relationship's hurt. The most important thing in your life is going to be that intersexual mate selection. But we're never taught that relationship. And they can never teach us relationships, you know. So even a lot of this discussion is very powerful, but we have to understand it's time, and I'm not talking about homeschooling, because sometimes homeschooling is dangerous, but I'm talking about community. We need to establish a community. If somebody say, I can't do it, there's somebody here that can generate it, and we establish our own school, but somebody say, I can do it. And it's like minds. We don't got to worry about it. You know, I feel comfortable at the West End. West End is the only place I can walk down the street looking like this. I can do it other places because I'm confident in myself, but my children, they can do it because everybody's like Shalom, Hotep, everybody got some kind of greeting, whatever you is, just everything. They give all 20 salutes, you know? But we feel comfortable because it's our environment. A lot of this stuff is not going to work in our environment, and that's why we're affected. So a lot of us feel that we're liberated, but mentally we aren't liberated, and if we were liberated, then we would produce more. We would have so much stuff.
And then we move to the next topic.
I feel that when you start talking about slavery and just the corporate America, I feel that black people are the only people that we have been fixed in with a split personality. Like a white man can go to work and be as white as he wants to be and he gets a check. A Chinese man can go to work, he can be as Chinese as he wants to be, he gets a check. Black man goes to work, he be as black as he want to be, and he needs another job. So we have to go to work remembering to leave our normal self at home and be this false perception of what's going to keep us on the job. We got to go and we got to squeeze our butt cheeks, we got to smile, and we can't even have a bad day without somebody like Johnson, what's going on today? You know what I'm saying? And then we come home and we have to deprogram ourselves of being this work person. And then we come home and, you know, you used to wonder why your father sit in his car for 10, 15 minutes before he come in the house. Because he's going through a form of deprogramming. Like, okay, now I got to deprogram myself out of this person that's keeping this job and come back to being me. In a minute, because it happened to me, man, I've been fired from so many places because I know how to play the game to get in. But at some point in the game, I'm going to forget to leave Rob at home. You know what I'm saying? And then once I bring Rob to work, they like, there he go. And within 2 weeks of that, I'm looking for another job. So it's almost like a split. And even with our women, you know, there's a split personality that they have. And we have this thing right now where our women are progressing in the corporate structure. So they're getting extra job titles and more money. And we as black men are digressing. So our communication level becomes obsolete because now she's on a level of talking corporate And we just on a level of living, and it's just like now it's like, well, why you ain't doing what you need to be doing, and we're not basically looking at it how they're structuring it to where the whole dynamic of the household has changed to where men are usually supposed to be the money maker, the provider, this, that, and the third. So now we got our woman making more money than us, and that becomes an ego factor, and that in return brings conflict.
Okay.
Because there's where I would say we're not checking our titles at the door when we come home from work.
Okay, well, you know what, that leads right to the next topic, and what you spoke about is something that we, as black people in America, have been dealing with. Is what Dr. W. Du Bois talked about, the double consciousness.
Yes.
Where we have to be one way in this environment, another way in another environment. But the next topic that we're going to speak on are employment issues, where it is a challenge sometimes, like you said, for black men and black women to walk the line in general. But it seems when it comes to employment, corporate things of that nature, I don't know whether it's a little easier for women to toe the line and play the role better, or because it's less threatening. But there's definitely some employment issues that seem to lead to part of the challenge in relationships as far as communication. I'd like for you all to speak about some of those type of challenges. Are there issues where a man, because he's not able to make money or make enough money, and a woman's able to get these type of positions and things of that nature? What are some of the challenges around the employment issues when it comes to our relationships and communication? Well, let's pass it to someone else, Rob.
I would just like to speak on that because I had a personal issue with that as well. Like when I was in LA, I moved out there with my woman. She had a job working in corporate America, and it was hard for me to get a job. So I played my position. I was taking care of the children. You know what I'm saying? I was basically, doing everything she would have to do. So when she came home, she would not have to do it. But because of the money situation, I don't know, at some point in time, the respect diminished. And it became to where she would say sometimes like, I'm not asking your opinion on what we're going to do. I'm telling you what we're going to do, because at the end of the day, you can't pay for it. So, it was exactly, you know what I'm saying? Now, you can't slice a man like that, because at the end of the day, we're a man first before we're anything. So it has a serious tone and repercussion when the roles are reversed and we're not respecting us as being who we are outside of the corporate structure.
Okay. Let's hear from Ms. D. Ms. D, you've been a little bit too quiet over there. You and me, both of y'all playing quiet. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think employment issues definitely affect.
Do you think it's the type of thing, or is it reality that when dealing with a number, obviously we know that there's individual cases, but generally speaking, are there challenges with the way that black women are being able to advance in society versus the way the black men when it comes to employment?
Well, that's been our history since we've been in the country. That's been since after slavery. I mean, that's been the case up until now. Some of what goes on is when we get the jobs because black men are not getting they're not getting the education, so they're not staying on top of the educational requirements to be able to get those jobs they need to be able to support their families. So that's a big thing. But the real issue goes back to again how you define manhood, and of course also too that puts pressure on the family, right? If he's not, so it puts a lot of pressure if he's not bringing income. But the other thing is in this culture is the value of whoever controls the finances has the control. And so the thing is, it doesn't matter who controls the finances, people still should treat people with respect. So we keep that in mind. It's not about, if you're defining yourself and your family in control based on your finances, then that's really a very materialistic way to approach it. But the big question to me is how do he feel about himself? Does that mean you're not a man now because you're not bringing in the income? Because of the way the culture defines manhood? And so how sensitive are you because you don't have income?
Okay, Dia said I was waiting for my key.
No, because that is a part of it that we really have to keep in mind. Because
Sure.
I've been in a situation where I was, my man was making really good money, lost his job, and the person that he became when he lost his job was like, dang, nobody talk about that. Nobody talks about, like, even when I'm not putting pressure on him, he's snapping on me because he's not making money. So I think it's something to that we do need to discuss, that we need to tell our brothers how to cope with, like, all right, when you're not making money, don't, you know, react in a way that could be harmful to your family and stuff. Because I promise you, I never did the whole, like, oh, you ain't making your money, or you ain't. I never did that. I was very supportive, but it was just like, damn, you know, I didn't know that, like, he was going to act the way he acted and take that out on me, you know. And it's real, and a lot of people really deal with that.
At the end of the day, it goes back to how you feel about self. Cat Williams said it's called self-esteem. You are responsible for your self-esteem. Just because you're not making no money don't make you any less of a man. That is in your mind. Nobody's putting that on you. You're mostly putting that on yourself. How do you define your manhood? How are you making decisions for your family? Man is supposed to be the head. Regardless of who's making the money. It's supposed to be a conversation about what's best for the family. But if you're not educated, like Dr. Dixon said, and that don't have nothing to do with degrees and how many titles and this you got, Dr. this and so that. That's not really what it's about. It's about that you have the skill set to make those decisions for your family. If, back to what Rob was saying, she said that, well, she has the finances and you can't help pay for it, does it economically make sense for your situation? Can we afford a mansion in Sandy Springs on $34,000 a year that I'm making by myself? No, we can't. So if it doesn't financially make sense, then why would you do that? It has nothing to do with who wears the pants or who's making this amount of money. If it doesn't economically make sense for your situation and your budget, then you cannot do it. It doesn't have anything to do with your manhood or your womanhood or anything like that. Can't nobody make you feel like what you are or are not. I'm a woman. I don't need any of you to tell me that I'm a woman. No woman. You can tell me that I'm not a woman, but I still know in my mind that I am. So it's called self-esteem. Before anybody can assist you in building yourself up, you got to build up yourself. You got to work on yourself. And you should have all of that worked out before you get with anybody. Because that's garbage to bring into a relationship. No, nobody has time to do that. We trying to build nations, and we trying to secure a future for our race, our community, for our peoples. We got to be secure and self before we made up with anybody else. Anything else is just extra damn homework that ain't nobody got time for.
Okay, I wanted to, I agree with a lot of what is being said here, but I think some of it's based on illusion that's being presented to us. Whoever told us men made more money than women made more money than men back in the days? That's the false reality. You never see that. I mean, women could have made more money. The difference is that most of our economics was home-based. It was together. Our businesses were together. And where the real problem is what we're not addressing. The problem is that a woman is going to work for another man and having dominion for another man over her that affects the psychological aspect of a male. That's the real issue. Because a man is sending, he's giving his woman to submit to another man. That's the problem. So most of these houses need to be house-based businesses, and these are the things. And then there are some women that need certain comforts financially. It's just part of their, what my brother say, it's part of their, just part of their chart. There's some women that sapiosexual. You just have to be a certain level of intelligence or she's going to go somewhere else. She's like, oh, you still drooling on yourself? She's going to go to the brother that's dropping them jewels because that's where it is. You just have to know your mate, and you knew what she was drawn to, and you knew what she was like. There's a thing, and I'm not it's a quote in the Quran, you know, that you can't take a woman out of her comfort zone and bring her into something different. Like if her family is rich and she's used to living like that, you cannot take her to your household and y'all worried about the lights and y'all living without lights. Like, what's going good, boo? You used to that. She's not used to that. And she's like, I'm fine. You know, it's different. So it's just a lot of things that we have to understand. But that whole who make more money, our women have always been psychologically dominant in a lot of aspects. Men give the broad vision and the women just finesse it and make it something phenomenal. And the problem problem is that she's making somebody else's vision phenomenal and not the household's vision.
But what happens if she's not bringing it in either? Then where are both of you gonna be? That's the question. Right, and then the other thing is, how does she feel? Does she lose respect? That's the other question. Because some women don't have a lot of respect for a man who's not bringing in something. So how do women feel about it? And the other thing is, how do you communicate it? So if you say, okay, well, we can't get that, how are you saying that? You know, so if you're saying, well, you don't have the money, you can't do that, then that's going to have some impact. So a lot of it is how you communicate, the reality to the situation.
I think we should talk about is that tone in the confrontation, where they're making some words that need to be said. But I think sometimes, like I was talking to some students about teen and dating violence, and it's interesting we're talking to young people about relationships, how desensitized they become to so many different things, and how you have some young ladies that they don't understand emotional and psychological abuse because it's just kind of regular, and the young guys, they don't understand what they're doing as well. But when we're talking about learning to know who they are, boys do what men do to become men, and girls do what women do to become women. But if the models that they see have not really learned, then that's why we have some of the challenges that we have in relationships, particularly when, like now, because of technology being the way it is, it's kind of a battle now with us, even if we're raising our children a certain kind of way. With technology being the way it is, the work mindset, like, are we training our children to learn how to do for themselves, or are we training them to be good employees? And a number of times, that's one challenge with dealing with relationships that Robert pointed out. Even if you try to make yourself fit into that mold, if it doesn't fit at some point, you're going to forget it. If you forget to leave right home, you're going to forget sometimes. And yet, I most certainly agree that if we're judging our relationships based on who can pay what bills, then that's going to be a problem forever. It's going to be a problem forever. But one of the things we want to talk about now is when we talk about our community. Yes.
If I came, you had a job, right? You have a business. And just be real, if I came to you and I had the qualifications for the position and a beautiful sister came with the qualifications for the sister, really, who would you pick and hire?
It would depend on the type of business, to be honest. To be honest, if it was something that was more detail-oriented, I probably would pick a woman.
And more likely, because you may experience higher than different people, and more likely, most men are going to pick a woman over a male unless he's a friend.
Yeah, well, again, I could say, I mean, and there's so many factors. We know that we as men, in general, not everyone, but we as men, a number of times because we do operate from a physical, visual stimuli, then that's, part of it. I mean, even that as far as the whole communication part, factors into that. But I don't think it's the type of thing where we should necessarily think that we're ever going to think the same. Men and women come from two different points of view. And yet, to me, which leads to this next topic, if there's a level of love and respect, if there's a level of reciprocity on how we deal with each other, if there's a level of values in which we're conducting ourselves, then maybe we wouldn't have some of the challenges that we're having. So let's speak about the love and respect factor, because again, I think what happens a number of times, it's not what is said, but how it's said sometimes. And when, once a woman loses respect for a man, brother, leave quickly, because there's no recovering in that. And that's just my opinion. Let's speak up.
I think I'm gonna go quick. I'll try to. The first thing we gotta look at is we don't see love as the same from men and women. You understand? I was listening to a show on Abundance Child. A man may love going to court saying I'm sovereign, but a female don't love that. She don't love that. She loves the movement. She loves this, but she ain't ready to go there with a passion like that. So scientifically, men view respect as love. Women don't view respect as love. Women view more admiration and appreciation as love. We don't really want to be appreciated. We want to be respected. So if your man has ever said, you don't respect me, he means you don't love me. And as every man has one time that told a woman, you don't respect me. And every woman has heard a man say, you don't respect me. He just said, you don't love me. That's what we interpret it. We go to the road and be like, yeah, I respect you. And then that's the same, oh, no homo. I can't tell the brother I love him, so I say I respect you. You know, that same thing as love. But for the female, she wants to be appreciated for her shoe game or hair game or her nurturing or, you know what I'm saying, the thing that makes her a woman. She wants to be appreciated for that. She don't want to be respected for how fast she can run the 40. You know what I'm saying, how much bench press she can do, how many guns that she owns. That's the difference. We have to learn that we don't have the same definition of love first, and then we can move on to that conversation.
Let's have a sister. Let me hear a sister's point of view on that love and respect. She said, yeah. Yes, let's hear a sister speak on it.
There's a book out, I'm not sure how long it's been out, but it's called 5 Love Languages. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that, but basically what it talks about is how people express love and how we receive it. I know for me, my specific love language is compassion for others, right? So the way I express that I love you is if you say to me, I don't have no food in my refrigerator, and I say, let's go to Kroger and get you some groceries. That's how I express love. Just because you change a light bulb in my fan, that don't communicate love to me. You know what I'm saying? So we all have different love languages, and in order for us to understand where each other is coming from, we have to know what those love languages are. We have to know what they are for ourselves and what they are for our mates. In terms of respect, respect has to go both ways, because I hear a lot of this talk about, you know, respecting another man and how he feels and all that. There's some other feelings in that relationship that we have to talk about as well. And I mean, I feel you when you say that you're sending your woman to go and work for another man. I understand that and everything, but in the same token, we have to have respect for our situation and saying, okay, Georgia Power is not going to accept this as an excuse to keep our lights on. You know what I'm saying? We have to do what we have to do until we can do what we want to do. Some of us don't have those subservient jobs. Myself, I work for the city of Atlanta. I save lives for a living. So I don't view my job as going to be responsible to no other man. I'm responsible to you as a citizen of Atlanta. So, you know, we have different levels of employment, different situations and things like that, but it all boils down to what your love language is. And if you don't know what that is for yourself or for your mate, your relationship is going to be hot.
Yeah, I would. This is something that you know, I'm real passionate about, which is self. Understanding is the best part of anything. And what we have to understand is that we don't love ourselves. We talk about relationships, but you have to love yourself first and foremost. We are generationally rooted the wrong way. You know, we talk about economics as far as the relationship between a man and woman when it comes to work and jobs and things of that nature. But all of that is the root cause of self-hate. The way you view yourself is the way you're going to view those who look like you. You know, we talked about earlier about the jobs and whatnot, and Rob spoke about the jobs, about being the other person. You know, I know all about it because I'm a strong individual. I'm the strong nigga that they always try to break. And eventually went into business for myself because I love myself enough not to be marginalized and play the game by their rules. But even when you play the game on a different set of levels, they still got rules for you to play right then and there. But what I'm saying, what I always say, is it starts with love of self. When you love yourself, you can love your people even when you really want to hate them. They don't understand why they view you the way. They don't understand. A lot of people in relationships, men and women, don't understand why they are so detrimental in their relationship because it starts with love of self. And when I say self, everybody say, you know, we had those conversations where say, I love myself. We know you love yourself, but you don't love self. What you look like, your skin tone, the texture of your hair. You love the history that was given to you. You love the education that was given to you. And you love the mindset that was given to you. Why? Because you're born and raised in America. A place where they do not teach you how to be black. So I think the root cause to a lot of things that we deal with in relationships, because all of it is learned behavior, it goes back to self, love of self. I love and respect myself. So if I'm out in public, if I see another sister or brother, I'm gonna greet you, right? But we have a lot of brothers and sisters, when they see you, they go, shh, nigga. But then when they see a cracker, they like, hey, how you doing, sir? Yeah, but they don't understand why, because It's deep rooted. So understand one thing, we talk about love and respect, regardless of what you are, where you come from, what you believe, whatever lifestyle you live, it all stems back to self. Understanding self, knowing self, loving self.
Yeah, I had wanted to say that a lot of how we are loved, or how we show love, has like to do with what we didn't do for children. So a lot of us witness our love experiences or lack of love experiences with our families and to our relationships. So for example, if you didn't get what you felt like you need, now you're going to your partner and you have an expectation of your partner. Give me what daddy gave me, give me what mommy gave me, give me what mommy didn't give me. And so a lot of that influences how we think about love. It's also, research has shown that the genders kind of show love differently. Women are more expressive, men are more active action. So you ask a man, you might say, like, you don't love me. And you'd be like, how can you say that? I just fixed your car. Because a lot of times men will show love through their actions. And then the other thing in terms of some of the research has shown that friendship really is the basis of a healthy marriage. And what's the basis of friendship? Respect. Honesty is one of them, but respect. And so if you respect your partner, then respect probably one of the main, if you have friendship, then respect probably one of the main ingredients for having a successful relationship.
I think too often we get caught up on the surface of the individual. It's almost like having a holographic mate. We fall in love with that which we see. We fall in love with all the, the beautified aspects of the individual. But when we start seeing like the quote-unquote negative sides, whether, I love her smile, but when she starts crying too much, I just can't take that. Or, when she, does anything that can appear to be negative to the next individual, when that starts bothering us, then we know that that's not love. Because love means that you're willing to be there for that person when nobody else will be there for that person. I mean, you can have the most beautiful mate in the world, and she can walk down that street, 1,000 men are going to compliment her. Everybody see that part. But when you see another part that nobody else is seeing, or that the other man is not willing to put up with, and you're willing to stay there, that shows your love, that shows your respect. So too often we get caught up in the holographic mate, the part that it appears to be there, but it's not really real. The part that she wears outside, or he wears outside, but it's not really, we're not seeing. I may have as a woman, you may think, I have a strong man. He's out there doing what he has to do. But when your man gets weak, and he happens to fall to the side and break down, are you going to lose respect for him? If you truly love him, then you're like I said in the beginning, you're there to be a servant. So you're there to help him. You're there to try to push him up. Same thing with the woman. Same thing with the man. The man has to help the woman when she's in her time of need. So too often, we kind of romanticize what love is because we look at TV and we think that love is always supposed to be something that's always happy, somebody that's, the slim figure, especially in this world, blonde hair, blue eyes, it's all an image. We're not really dealing with the person for who they truly are. Because a person is not just the positive things you see, it's all encompassing. It's the negative and the positive. So when you love somebody and you respect them, then you try to understand them. You don't have to put up with them, but you try to understand them. And when the more you try to understand them, because you have to, because you're two different people, then the more that you're actually building your love for them as well.
And I think what you're seeing up here is nobody has a complete answer. It's a collective answers, and we actually working out our relationships up here. Because I just Ty spoke something, and it was true. But I wanted to reinstate and add something to what I was speaking about as a woman going to work for another man. It's not the fact that she can't do what she has to do. We have to do what we have to do to survive. That's stuff that is detrimental to us completely. But what I'm saying is, what a man looks at, and I can speak reverse, vice versa. We can do it vice versa. But let me just come from a man perspective. If you talk to your boss like you talk to your man, you wouldn't have a job. So what happens psychologically is the man sees you go out there and respect the dollar more so and make this work. And he says, go do this and have it printed out on my desk. And you like, I have it. But the man may come across when you go home with something similar, but it's a complete opposition or you oppose it. So sometimes we have to see, is our desire more so for the dollar than for our personal love and building our family? So that's sometimes what psychologically bothers us as men and as women too. Men do the same thing. They'll go home and go work for another man, and then when they come home and their wife has an opposing view, they're ready to shut it down. That's not how it's supposed to work. We're supposed to be able to figure out a balance between these things. So sometimes it does a lot of psychological damage when we see that we are more so dedicated and gung-ho for a system, an illusion, than stuff that we really need. We're built off of love. Every last one of us. If we're not receiving love, we're dying. You know, and we speak about this and speak about it in the book on Ancient Science of Love. It's like, if you have a headache, all you have to do is make love, hug, or cuddle. These things get rid of all that, because anytime your body is doing something that's opposite of love, it's destructive. So this is one of the things I say. I think our level of respect, this society is built up. We say survival, but most of us are not surviving. We want to live past survival. We're living for this image. We're chasing this image. You know, when people say, well, I'm going to go to college and get a degree so I can give more money to my community, that never happens. Because all they do is develop more bills and higher level of living. Yeah, you know, I got to pay this Mercedes, I got to pay this. Some of us got 6-bedroom houses, only have one child. You got a den and 2 living rooms, you know? So sometimes our respect is more so for the system, and that's that damage that was done to us psychologically. But we really have to know, as Black people, we are built off of love. We're more forgiving to the Europeans than we are ourselves. And if we treated the outside world like we treated each other like we treated the outside world, we'd be beautiful.
Excellent, excellent point. Okay, we're going to move on to the next topic. Now, this topic is one that is obviously all the topics that we're talking about from the beginning. We're not necessarily trying to say this is the end-all, be-all solution. We're simply having these conversations. But one of the things that's been talked about, I remember almost 20 years ago being on a panel similar to this, and we were talking about polygamy and monogamy in our communities. And we were talking about the concepts of, it was said about, you know, X amount of men being in jail, and X amount of women in the community, and X amount of single-parent households. So polygamy is something that it's time for us to begin to have those real conversations about polygamy in our community. Then there's another point of view that says, well, one man, one woman, and if we get back to one man, one woman monogamy, then that's the way that things can be better in our community. Let's get your point of views on polygamy and or monogamy. Taj raised her hand first. Immediately. This is where it gets hot.
All right, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna break out. I gotta go to another meeting, but I'm gonna say this. You have to know what you are mentally equipped for. A lot of times women sign up for polygamy because they don't want to lose their man. And that's not something that they're mentally prepared to get down with. There's a lot of jealousy. You know, there's a lot of selfishness in some of those situations because they're not coming from a pure place. They're not coming from somewhere like we sat down and we discussed this. A lot of times that polygamy talk comes up when somebody doesn't think they're faithful. And so they'll sign up for that because they don't want to lose their mate or their ability to take care of their family, this, that, and the third. So I would say don't sign up for nothing that you're not mentally equipped to deal with. Number 2, to build off of what I just said, like it usually comes from, not usually, but sometimes it does come from a place where somebody has been unfaithful. A lot of times we got these conscious pimps, right? So they'll kick that lingo, you know, yeah, girl, you want to build this nation and this, that, and the third. But really, what they're trying to do is they trying to get to the skins. Okay, so they want more than one wife because they want to spread it out. All right, I'm trying to keep it PG. Y'all know me, I it's super fun. So I'm keeping it PG for you, but they want to spread it out. You know what I'm saying?
Sexually you're talking about?
Yes. Sexually, they want to spread, they want to sow their royal oats. Yes, I'm coming to America. They want to sow their royal oats. So, you know, and that's not to knock anybody that gets down with that lifestyle, but for the people who get down with that lifestyle, they've studied, they've prayed, and they've gone into their situation with the expectation that this is what we're going to do. Yes, you are my first wife, but this is what I want to do for the future. I want another wife. You know, but a lot of these brothers are not only that they're not financially equipped, they're not mentally equipped,
Or
or sexually equipped. They're just not. You know what I'm saying? So before anybody gets into that situation, you really got to evaluate what's going on with you and be real about your finances and be real about your mental stability. A lot of us are not equipped to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So you have to know what you want. If you want to be monogamous, that's cool, be monogamous. If you want to be polygamous, polyamorous, whatever is you want to get down with, you have to know yourself. You know, it goes back to knowledge of self. You got to know what it is that you expect for yourself, what you want for yourself, but definitely don't sign up for nothing that you are not prepared to do. And a lot of us are not prepared. We're not about that life.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment? I know we have some opinions on this topic.
See, the subject of multiple husbands and wives is just like homeschooling. I'm gonna stick with the astrology gun the whole way. You're not built like that. You can't change your blood type. If you're a B positive, then you're gonna be a B positive. You know what I'm saying? If your birthday is XYZ and these positions are there, okay, you were born, there's a camera underneath the bed or the table that you come out. And when your head pops out or you take your first breath, there's a snapshot of the heavens. That's it. That is your map for your life. It shows how you died the last time, shows you what your are this lifetime, what your superpowers are, what your spiritual destiny is, how you do relationships, how you communicate, what kind of scars you're going to have. I ran into a barbed wire fence when I was 12 years old with my neck. I almost decapitated myself. I started studying astrology when I was 31. It was right there in my chart. It's called a natal promise. You can't get out of it. You don't know about it. That means you just ride around with a broken what now I say, the broken tech that don't spray right. You see, you riding around with this landmine in the back seat with no shocks, and you don't know when it's gonna go off. And you sitting around talking about, oh man, I just want to be true to myself, just want to be honest, just want to have knowledge of self. Nigga, you got this landmine in the back. That's you need to move over to another lane, and you can move into another car. And don't try. That's why you see the saddest part is polygamy is wonderful for those who are built for it. But you have so many of these dick trick kicking pimps and hotel hold downs, because it's male and females, because the females will come to the brother and be like, you know, we're gonna put you up in this right here, Bob, such and such and such and such. And they ain't built like that. And then all of a sudden it's destructive. And then the sister who just come into the community is like, I was getting ready to try that, and she's really built for it. But she saw it blow up, and she's like, well, my mama told me I better be monogamous, and she's gonna suffer. And then this is gonna keep on just getting crazy. So know your chart and know your child's chart. It's my last piece. Me and the sister were talking about her child. This child is a Capricorn, and she's a Cancer. They're totally opposite. And earlier you said something about, well, we got to protect our child. You can't protect your child from your birthday. You and your child do not have the same birthday.
I'm not talking about that.
I know just about the exploitation about putting them out on the TV, but if it's in their chart, they need to be on TV, because it may not be in your chart that you may be the kind that's like, I'm just a house, I don't want to be there. That's me. We often live our fears vicariously through our children, when our children may be the most courageous thing out there. Get off that damn refrigerator. How'd you get up there? That joker's the Aries with the Aries rising. He ain't got no fear in him. But your stuff is very reserved, and you came up in the environments where you was really shook. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so let's move on. But okay, so what you're basically saying that if a person hasn't done their chart before they even think about polygamy or monogamy, they need to do the chart before they get into either situation.
Before they leave a relationship too.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment what she says here.
Peace, Taj. Appreciate you, sir.
Conscious pimp. I'm sorry you have one. It's like oxymoron to me because I can be conscious being a pimp. That's but the other thing is that I hear people, I know people have different capacities. Some of us have more capacity for love. Some of us have more capacity to share. Interestingly, black people have been practicing polygamy for thousands of years. The Europeans came along and told you what to do for it. Right? It's just that a lot of it's socialization. It's the way you've been socialized in this culture. You've been socialized to think of things in a certain way. So it's very difficult for us to get out of that paradigm that, this one man, one woman thing. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, because that's good too, because throughout the world, the majority of people, although the majority of culture, particularly African cultures, practiced it, the majority of people were not able to practice it because they didn't have what they needed to fulfill. So one of the things that a colleague of mine who helped me with the polygamy work talked about was that what it does is it sets a standard for men. Because for men, it means that they have to, because right now we live in a situation where women compete for men. That is so not natural, right? But if you set up a situation where men have to compete for women, that's what polygamy does, because it makes men have to really step their game up. Because that means that women now will go to the men that have got their act together, and those who don't have their act together will just be left out in the cold. But if you set a standard whereby we're only going to go to the men who have their act together, that means that other men now have to step up their game. And so that's, I think, a good structure to put in place. But unfortunately, because we live in a culture of white supremacy, and although white males are the ones who run around and stamp it out everywhere, but they do it. They just do it in dysfunctional ways. They just turn the women into prostitutes and mistresses and all those things. And interestingly, black women were the first prostitutes in America, based on the sold into slavery and sold into prostitution. So the thing of it is that it's something we did for 1,000 years, just in another culture, another outside of that paradigm, and now it looks like something foreign to us. And now we're saying most of us aren't built for it, we don't have the capacity for it, it's just that we're not being socialized and think about it in the right way.
Nasi, please.
Appreciate it. I love what the doctor said. I think it was definitely truthful. I want to tell you, this is one of the most powerful parts of our discussion. And the reason why I said this is because most of us men were taught to be liars. And we were taught to be something that we weren't. It's natural in society for women to cling to a dominant man. But like she said, when they push the bar, if a man pushes the bar and they does something, women are naturally drawn to it. If you want a reality of monogamy, then you take some of our greatest men, look at Martin Luther King. So you expect our dime bag selling little brothers to be monogamous or whatever they're doing, but we have to look at the reality of it. As that perfect example, a lot of times your friend may fall in love with your man because he sees how good you're treating her. And this is how life works. It always worked that way. So when I look at polygyny, we can't say 1 minute it has nothing to do with finances. I'm this and that, and then when the polygamy, it's all dealing with finances and investment and money. We have to look at it from a broader perspective, and this is naturally us. And I sometimes I would get ostracized out of places because I would speak the truth. I mean, my whole life I've never seen a monogamous man in my life. Point me in a direction. I see men that will be on this panel. I see men that get up on this panel and they'll talk about monogamy, but then when they go home, it's a different story. Because even the illusion of monogamy is a draw to polygamy. Think about it. You have what's the guy? Steve Harvey, right? Steve Harvey, right? He writes a book on relationships, right?
As a comedian.
He writes a book on relationships. But truth be told, his book on relationships only drew more women to him. You can see men on the outside. If a man is wearing a $5,000 garment, it isn't because he wants to feel good about himself. It's because he wants to put the image of an alpha male out there into existence. It's just like when you go to the club, and we use this a lot. When a man buys out the bar, it isn't because he's concerned that everybody's thirsty. It's not his concern. He wants to show that I am the alpha male, and then sisters, because the image of alpha male is put out there for money and flossing and swag, we lead to these and drawn to these negative images even when we know better. Because we say our women buy 75% of the music, but then we always wonder why we in a bad relationship, because you're drawing this negative energy in you by putting it in your head that this is the dominant male, when the dominant male is one that's upright. And one who practices what he preaches or walks a certain way. So if you was thinking about, and like I said, polygyny is dangerous, but so is monogamy with the wrong people. There are men that's not ready for monogamous relationships. I'm not saying that they can't have a relationship, but they have to work on themselves and build themselves up to be able to deal with other people. A lot of us are loners. We have built this physical wall around us, but we don't want nobody in our life, so we try to do what everybody tells us to do, and we try to get together with this barrier placed in front of us, and that love is never there, and we can't understand why it isn't there. And that's one of the things, and this is these are my two wives, and with what we do is a lot of times we talk to different people about polygyny and relationships, because I would say this, my polygyny doesn't work because of me. It works because of them. Their relationship, sometimes I have to I have to go find somebody that's gonna tag team with me. I gotta call, you know what I mean? Let's Google this or something, you know, because they double teaming me. But their relationship is not more important, but in order for polygamy to work, they have to get it together. They have to have love. It's not hard for us to kind of have some kind of attraction, but they have to have a level of attraction to each other and a desire for one another and be around one another. One more before I go. A lot of times as women, you always want somebody to console with, right? You want somebody to talk to. So you end up talking to your best friend, but the problem with talking to your best friend is your best friend has a mate. So when she lays down your business, she's discussing your business to him, and now he has power over you because you just did naturally what you were supposed to express it to. The person you were supposed to express that to is somebody that's nigh, somebody that's near to you, and has the same fight and struggle, and that was your sister wife.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Excellent point. Rob Love, I see you got your hand up there. At least you want to go to Capital first, since you're here.
I'm just gonna agree about the relationship. The relationship between the women getting along, and it's not just necessarily in a setup like marriage thing. My daughter has a 1-year-old brother, and his mother and we love one another. Like, if she doesn't have something, I have it. If I don't have something, she has it. And we kind of got into, our situation a little differently. But at the bottom line, at the end of the day, it was just like, I love the man, I love his children, I love you as a woman. And I don't want to take, I think a lot of the issue, even with monogamy, is we're like transferring these capitalistic ideas of I own you, I have something, so you are mine. And we're twisting that into some kind of way and saying that that's love, that's the definition of love. And for a people who function from a place of love to constantly and consistently wake up and put that lie on in the morning, it's a sad state, and it's a sad affair when it's something easy. It's not my kid. I mean, even if I birthed her, she's here for this entire room. So for me to sit up and make any decision regarding her based solely off of how I feel, that's being selfish. And we just begin to look at one another in our relationships that we have, and stop necessarily, the idea of, I know it's a relationship topic, but who's having sex with who, and just look at, who's able to help one another, how do we build this platform, and how do we build this nation, and just start looking at things in those very real terms. I can't deal with this. I know you can deal with it. So, so I kind of have your back.
Okay. Rob Love. Instead of watching my out with that hand in the water, like, okay, watching the water, watching my eye.
Well, I would say again, like Brother Nasi said, everything starts and ends with the woman. Everything, choices, everything is made from the woman. A man makes really no choices. He goes along with what the woman desires. A man has to ask a woman for a dance. She has to make the decision to dance with him. A man has to ask a woman to get married. So it's like every decision that is made in a relationship is based off the woman. I hear a lot of women say, well, I got with him and he wanted this, he wanted that, but you chose him. You know what I'm saying? So you choose every situation that goes down. You are in control of it. For like you said, for polygamy to work, the first wife has to agree with who the next wife is going to be. And if she don't feel it, we cannot go forward. I can't make it. Well, I don't care what you feel like. She gonna be here. It's gonna be fire in the house. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, the woman is all powerful. And I would love women to start being accountable for their power. You assert power, but a lot of times you don't want to accept the power that you have. Men go out, men do everything just about everything for a woman's affection. We get our hair cut, we go sell dope, we go do whatever we gotta do, because if you say that's what you want, that's what we gonna be. If women decided that we don't like these men walking around with their ass out, we finna put an end to it. It'll be done tomorrow. It'll be done tomorrow. But because you have these,
Why did y'all say?
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go
Because
ahead.
they wait, you know, it's like in our community.
Yes, good.
Oh, yeah, it's like so much
Now,
weight
hold
on
on,
us.
give Peter the mic.
I'm sorry. I just don't, when it comes to our community, we have to get out of, I hear so many times, like, if women do this, if women do that, like, where are the men that's gonna do these things? You know what I'm saying? Like, where are they? A lot of times when we talk about this, you know, when we talk about this subject, we hear, well, you know, because there's so many brothers that's locked out. Well, where are the men that's gonna go fight this system with us so that we don't have women that's out here without enough men to have their own man? Where are those men that versus just saying, hey, can I finish it real quick? Where are those men that so that we don't, you know, have to feel like, okay, well, since so many of them locked up, I just now have to share. Because I'm not gonna, I believe that any adult that decides to do anything with their life, I totally respect, that's your business. Now, for me, when it comes to speaking of love, and I may be one of the most, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I came up in a family and a community that was all about community. My house was a pantry that people came to all day and night looking for food. You know what I'm saying? So I know what it means to take care of each other and make sure that we're all good and stuff. But the thought of sharing my dude, I'm not ever for. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, if we're talking about love and anything that's gonna cause me to feel some kind of hurt, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to share mine. I don't give a damn how much money you got. It's enough stuff we can do with that money, or we can do with our time, and it's enough people out here that we could try to make sure that these people are freed, or that they're able to, you know, if you have that much money where you feel like, oh yeah, I can now take on all these women, like, why don't you share that wealth so some man that's broke can get him a wife? You know what I'm saying? Like, where are we at? Where are those?
Okay. All right, excellent point, Shomrey.
all I wanted to say was,
Like this part.
again, with this situation with being like, you're mine. I noticed you said, my man.
Ownership.
Ownership. I'm not your property, I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? And I would tell any woman that if a man tells you, you my woman, you need to get from around him, because he has a possession problem, and this is going to lead to some type of physicality if you don't stand in what he feels you're supposed to be doing at every moment. If the man comes around and says, this is my woman, you know what I'm saying? You belong to me. That's a problem of possession, and we don't belong to anyone. We are here to help and serve each other. So when you start looking at it as, I'm your man, and you know, this is how it is, you're killing, that can't be love. That's all I'm gonna say, that can't be love.
It can't be love for me to be hurt because mine or whatever. You know, you can't, I just don't understand how when we talk about, you know, we talk about the creator being love and all this stuff, and it's like anything that, let me say this way. I don't know, I can't speak for all women.
True.
You know what I'm saying? But most of the women that I know the hurt that they experience when the one that they love is with someone else.
Now, does that hurt come from that they're with someone else, or the way they went about it? And the process
both of them. I mean,
of lying to them and deceiving them and things of that nature, or is it that because they physically was with someone? What do you think it is?
I'm straight on that. Now, you know, it could be, it could be a little bit of both. But I just believe that, you know, until we start asking men, honestly, how would you feel if someone that you love, I'm talking about really, really love, if you were sharing them with somebody? And you know, most men, you know, if they be honest, they're not going to want to share their woman with another man. You know?
Okay, Dr.
Yeah, I want to say a couple things. I know so many things to say. First of all, just whole ideal about it being about the finances, we just throw that out, right? Because all the way it's been done all over the world, particularly for African people, they work cooperatively. So women do just as much of the production for the society as men do. That was just something. So in this capitalist structure, it's a whole other ballgame when it comes to that. When it comes to who's going to address who, but I think when it comes to issues of boys and men, right? Because boys don't listen to women up to a certain point. They start to identify with the male power, and they see us as powerless, so to speak. So that's why the men aren't there. So if somebody's going to get them to raise their pants, it's going to have to be men to do that. Most women fight every day trying to get their boys to raise their pants, and while they're in the house, they're off and they go outside and put their pants back down. So if men don't do that, that's not going to happen. Okay? But the thing in terms of the polygamy thing, that's going to take women to do that. Because women have to be on the same page. The same thing he said, if women don't do it, men can't do it because it's not going to work. Because it's going to create too much chaos and too much drama. But the other thing is, I think why it's difficult for women, because she talks about the hurt, because most women have experienced the hurt in the way it's been done in this culture, and a lot of it has been done out of deception and approaching it from the standpoint of the way the Europeans approached it. Now he deals with his woman. When black men started dealing with their women the same way white men have dealt with their women, this is the hurt that they're talking about. But if we're fundamentally going to take women, I wrote the books we want for our sisters, what we want for ourselves, and I had to use women, because it was women I knew we have to get that from women, because if women don't do it, it's not going to happen. I just wanted to say that, y'all, but I have to go because I have some kids I have to get home.
All right.
I mean, I think the most important part of what's right or what's wrong is the fact that we have to understand that relationship is an agreement, period. So it's something that has to be agreed upon from the beginning. If you're honest with yourself, then you can say whether or not, like your sister says, she can't deal with it. Some sisters can't. In my experience, I know a lot of brothers that are in polygamous relationships, and I can honestly say I have never seen those brothers go outside of their household. On the other hand, I've seen a lot of brothers that are in relationships with one person, and they're constantly going outside of that household. I can see the loyalty in the men that are in a polygamous relationship more so than I do from the person that is in a monogamous relationship. And it all goes back to alignment. If a person is truthful with himself and they say, look, this is what I am dealing with, it's relationship. In that word relationship, you have relation and you have ship. You need to know whether or not we're going to pick up passengers later on down this journey. And that has to be told up front. And if it's told up front, it can be made to work. However, the most important key goes back to what the brother said, is that the sisters have to get along. Because I know too often we have women that are in relationships with one man and then they start complaining, my man doesn't understand me. I'm trying to communicate certain things with him, but yet if you have a sister in your household, you can talk to her and build trust with her, and whatever problem you're going through stays in your household. It does not become something that comes outside of your household, and you actually find a best friend in that type of relationship if it's done on the square, if it's done on the right. I mean, not dealing with the quote-unquote conscious pimps.
So one more thing, and I'm leaving now. It's about higher love. That's what it is. If you approach love from an emotional standpoint, then that's one thing. But if you're probably approaching from a higher love, it means you want for your sister what you want for yourself. You really care about them. Because if you have 2 million more women in the population than men, what are all the other women going to do? And so if you can't have that kind of love for your sister that you have for that man, then that's where we are.
Wow. Okay, we're going to hear and hear until the next topic. Thank you, Dr. Dixon. Give him a Dr. Dixon, you know.
The first part was the pants hanging down and sagging. No, men can do that because pants sagging is a reward. Women, we look at coochie as a reward. And as long as these brothers have their pants sagging and women still give them coochie, then they're going to keep their pants sagging. There's nothing, no brother in here. I can, no, it's not. No, it's not. Listen, there's no man in here stronger than coochie. There's no man in here stronger than coochie. There is no man stronger than coochie.
But it takes both.
Listen, initially.
Okay. Whoa.
We're supposed to raise girls, we're supposed to raise boys.
Now, exactly. So again, let us agree to disagree on that end as far as the pants down and Woodstock and the coochie and all that. But all right, let's go here because we're moving forward time-wise, right? And we definitely want the audience have to have time to chime in. So let's grab the mic here and audience members, if you have any questions, comments. Now is not the time to be shy. Now is the time to step up because this is a community conversation. So we want to open the mic up for the audience members to have their comments, questions, critiques, criticism, whatever it is. This is your time.
I just wanted to say one thing. I appreciate everybody coming out and staying with this segment or just this whole panel discussion. I really do, because I know time is something that you can never get back, and that is the most important thing for everybody. And the fact that you all came here, you know what I'm saying, with your time at hand, I really appreciate it. I really do. I just wanted to say that.
Thanks. No doubt. Yes, give it up. You can go for sound.
Hey, I'm Rim. I'm one of the co-organizers of the event. I just had, I guess, a common question. But in regards to polygamy, I'm not against it. And, you know, I'm actually for the people that it works out for. I know myself enough to know that I'm not going to be with it. I just know that. But I've seen it work for people. But I know my chart. Like you said, you have to know yourself. You have to understand who you are. You have to know your chart. I know my chart. I know my numbers, numerology. I know that that's something that's not going to work. I already understand that. And also another thing is, we know that it's been with us since the dawn of day as African people, right? But there's also a whole another population in Africa that has never practiced polygamy. I come from a family that has never practiced polygamy at all. And so it is not natural, you know, to some people to do that, for them to do that. So, you know, for us to say that, you know, as a default, that, you know, we just have to reach in within ourselves and, you know, love higher, you know, the definition of love and higher is relative to a lot of different people. You know, there's no one way of doing that. I don't think so. Like like Taj was talking about earlier in regards to the love language, my way of loving higher is different from another person's way of loving higher. You know, I'm like Taj, so like if you're hungry, you need something to eat, I'm gonna spend that money. If I got it, it's yours. If somebody comes to me and asks me for money, needs to borrow it, and we cool like that, I'm gonna give you the money without any expectations of ever getting the money back. If you pay me back, that's great. If you don't, there's no love lost. I'm still with you at the end of the day because I know you need it at the time that you need it. You know, and so another thing is, you know, as women, you know, one thing about me is that I'm super ambitious. People that know me personally know that and that's in my chart too. I'm a leader. I'm also a community organizer. I'm the person that brings the village together. I'm a nurturer. I'm all those things. I'm very feminine, but I also have certain attributes that a lot of people consider masculine, because I understand myself enough to know that I can't ever settle in a situation where it's like, well, I'm married to a man, so because I'm married to a man, I'm just not going to go out and get what I need to get for myself. Because if that situation ends up failing, who's going to have my back? Nobody. I got to get myself out of that situation. And I've seen that happen before too. My parents have been married for 30 years, happily married. My mom was taking care of the house. My dad was, he's still the head of the house, but she also worked. You know, she went out, she worked. But that didn't compromise with her role as a mother or a wife at the crib. So I think you have to kind of look at that in more of an evolutionary way. And I'm the same type of person. Like, I feel like I need to be able to, I know what's natural to me. And I know that I am a go-getter, I'm a leader, I'm an entrepreneur. I do a lot of different things. I'm one of those people that are I'm like a Jane of all trades. So it's unnatural for me to just be content with doing one thing, like just getting a 9 to 5, for instance, and just working and coming home, for instance. Like, that's not a thing that I would ever just want to do. I want to do a lot of different things. And so my whole point of this is saying that we have to kind of look past the truth. I mean, I am always going to bring the traditional because that's a part of me, but at the same time, we're in a new age. And so it's like, I just feel like just redefine as women, understand that, for women, understand that, we are so much more complex than just shoes, the shoe game, and the dress game. Like, I was born in that. I have ambition. I have So, you know, the shoe game, dress game is not enough for me. So what I look for a mate, I'm gonna look for, you know, things that match that, not the shoe game, that don't matter to me. I don't even go shopping. You know what I'm saying? So,
Appreciate that. Any other questions? Questions, comments? Give it up for Rem, y'all. Give it up for Rem. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome panel, great, enjoyed it, all the different perspectives and people's feedback as far as their situations. I know everyone has different real, so I've enjoyed these ones. But I would say, just as the brothers say about as far as the charts and looking at numbers and all, I believe that's in actuality really a way to know yourself and like you said, what's in your charts. I mean, past lives and so forth. A lot of things we come here to be tested. You know, we talk about what's in our DNA. Sort of what's going back to knowing yourself, know thyself, and once you know yourself and what you want and what you desire in a relationship, and whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship or marriage, just like Todd said too, it's like you have to understand what you got out of your last relationship and not to take that baggage into the next relationship and like, where did I play that part in? And I think that it comes with experience. It's not going to happen overnight, so we have to look at each relationship and take something positive from it, but also know where we play down the road. And I think it's right now it's really, I think it's a crisis in our community. I look at the other cultures, I look at Hispanics, and I look at Asians and Indians and how, you know, they are continuing to build a family and they're like maintaining and whatever they're doing is working for them. And we can talk about, you know, post-traumatic slave and all of that, and that is embedded in, you know, a lot of our, how we think, what we do, how we do things. But it's crucial right now, and I think that we will be our own demise if we don't continue to, you know, have families and create families and actually, you know, be able to nurture families. I mean, we can have the babies, but any man can have a baby, but it takes a real man to be a father. So I think that, you know, we have to get back to that, and I just see, you know, I think the Indians, they keep it spicy with tangerine. I mean, whatever you need to do to keep it spicy in your relationship. And somebody has a song, I'm cheating on my girl, with my girl. So it's just ways to be creative in your relationship. You know, polygamy and so forth. I can see it working. I can see where it comes at. I see how, you know, because you can say that when it comes to marriage, you know, that brings an entitlement. It brings that, okay, she's mine, they're mine, you know, they belong to me. So as the brother said here, you know, more men are in the, you know, trying to be monogamous, but that may not be their nature based on maybe their charts. I don't know. However, when it comes to the opposite of us women that may be against polygamy, you may not be knowingly or willingly knowing that your man's out there doing his thing. So it's just like, you know, you may not be against it. I mean, you may not be with it up front, but it may be happening behind your back. So I just think that we really, this is a great topic, and I think that it's crucial, and we are in crisis in the black family, and if we don't, others are really producing, and we'll be behind. So that's what
I have a lot of stuff to say, so I'm gonna try to shortcut. For the most part, some of it. I want to say this. What's on my mind? I want to say with the chart. I definitely studied the chart. I'm a Hebrew Israelite and studied the chart. I know that I can use it as a foundation to build myself and get away from certain things, but the chart doesn't determine me. I will not be limited. You know what I'm saying? So a true God-like consciousness will arise above all limitations. So the one thing I want to say is, so we say we predestined. That's the thing that we always predestined through genetics. Determinism. There's no determinism. Determinism is based within ourselves. You know, so yes, you need to know the chart. Coach, how you know what I'm talking about. So I don't want anybody to limit ourselves. For people that say that polygamy ain't for them, they put it out in the atmosphere. This is for them. And it never will be for them. But I like to deal with psychological things. A lot of things when people tell you that they truly are, that means they truly are. We all, like it's a blowfish, we always put up that scarecrow in the middle of the yard to push you away from our weakest points in our lives. So most of us, what we say on the outside is what we truly are inside. And these things that we say that we are or we're against, sometimes things that we need to face to really fix ourselves and go through the struggles in life. And we turn away ourselves from the path that we truly need to go in learning love. I would say this with relationships. I understand that we look at the Asian people, Asians kill off their children. for population control. You can only have one child in Asia because it's so rampant. There's a lot of things and different perspectives that we can build on. But polygamy, if we really look at it, we can say that there's some sisters in here that'll be faithful to their man, right? If we see who's faithful, some of us might disappear. But with the men, almost everybody in this room will disappear. So now we have to pull the coat off of it because we can say that either anybody in this conscious, meaning that the light is coming upon you, wants to live in darkness and pretend that men are monogamous, then that's a path that you choose. And there are some men that are monogamous. But it's slim pickings. And most women don't want the men that other women don't want. They're attracted to men that have power and status, and sometimes people want them. Nobody takes a guy with little glasses falling off and I love you. Nobody takes them. They want that. No, I'm not saying, no, listen, I'm not giving a definite on everything. I'm saying on the most part. So now we have to look realistically, because let me tell you, I want to say this. Your daughters are dying because of this. Because they will go with somebody and a man cheat on them and they say, what's wrong with me? They'll take out, they'll cry, they'll kill them, they're so hurt inside. What's wrong with me? What did I do? What did I do? And your daughter going through so much pain because she believed it was something that she did instead of somebody waking up and telling her the truth that men are polygamous. And then she can deal with it better. Well, it ain't me. Maybe it's not me. Maybe I can have more confidence in myself. Or maybe I can find it. You can just raise the find man that nobody wants. That's true. So there's a shallow avenue. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. But what I'm saying is if you're saying in Atlanta it's 11 women to one man, then you want to cut that 1%, you want to cut that 8% into 0.8%. Got a long journey.
But even with those numbers, you know how many, that's such a huge myth that over years people been repeating so that men can think that like, oh yeah, so I got
No. Europeans will never push polygamy. So
no, I'm talking about that number. That number, like, and I don't know if you were saying the 11 to 1 to be exact in Atlanta.
Bring it down to more accurate. Bring it down to what you said it would be.
Well, it was just recently, what was that? Did y'all see? It was on one of the,
So you say it's not 11 to 1.
Let's say if it was 3 to 1, it's still a big problem. If it was 3 to 1, the numbers still are ridiculously out of control. So I'm not pushing polygamy. Trust me, I don't push polygamy because I think a lot of brothers will see this. I don't want any brother to see this and think that he's fit for polygamy. Polygamy means that you have to be more feminine. You have to tap into your feminine aspect because you're dealing with a lot more emotions. So you have to be, it ain't, oh, I'm alpha male, I'll come back, my food better be ready. No, you have to start learning how to be, oh, I understand love, or do some toenails and stuff like that. So, some people are not for that. I mean, so being
I think when people hear us speak and we say that like men are polygamous, when you realize that men are this, that's what we're teaching. But that is
they are polygamous.
That is essential, but then you just said that.
No, I said I'm not pushing polygamy because mentally a lot of us aren't ready for any kind of relationship.
Okay, see, and I guess I just don't agree with that.
I think a lot of men.
All right. Wait. 1 second. In respect to time, it is Sunday evening, and we do want the audience to kind of get in a bit more. And for those that want to stay after we officially close, I'm sure there'll be time to communicate, but we do want to be mindful that, as somebody in the panel said, time is our most valuable asset. So we'll be mindful of that.
Just to clear things up, and I'm sure that you will agree with me, when he says that men are naturally polygamous, he's not actually saying that men are going to have more than one woman to themselves. He's actually saying that they're attracted to other women. I'm sure, I'm almost certain. Maybe one time in your husband's life, if you have a husband and a wife, if you guys are walking together and you see a fine woman, he's naturally going to go. It's
That ain't saying he gotta have sex with her, or he gotta be with her.
No, being a political doesn't naturally mean that you have to have those things to marry. It's just a man's nature to be polygamous, to be drawn to other women, to be attracted to other women. So it's gonna happen. And like he said, the man mentioned, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but it's dangerous for a man to admit to his wife and say, I'm monogamous. Then later on down the line, he's gonna go out and sneak and tap into, I can't tell my wife because she's not built for it, but I'm gonna sneak and do this. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that because my wife is not built for it. We have have to get ourselves stronger and you know, get our minds stronger to say, well, you know, my husband is not going to be solely attracted to me.
I think it's different. Most women understand that. I mean, I don't know any women that don't understand that being love with.
I think we need to be aware, we need to really be mindful of blanketing everybody, because I mean, you have some plain knowledge and wisdom, you as well, but as I haven't done any chart, but I'm a monogamous nature type dude. You know, I've dated women, when I'm with that woman, they're all beautiful women, who gives a damn? I'll build that cycle right there. When it comes to other babies I'm a single father of my son. So currently I am seeing somebody, and she's not even in Atlanta. And I'm still true to her. You understand what I'm saying? But it's all about understanding and knowing yourself. As far as babies that are not mine, I raise my son and I raise his son, his friends as my son. You understand what I'm saying? So I get the whole community build and about dealing with our children. And if men, polygamous or not, we all did this in our community. We can begin to make the change to pull up their pants. I can tell you my son doesn't sag and neither does his friend. Out of respect for me, because they respect that. Now I'm not knocking the polygamous lifestyle at all. You know what I'm saying? I've soaked up a lot of wisdom on this stage tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Shah, we built it. And you know, from what he said, he was gonna be more of a student. And tonight I was a student. But at the same time, we all need to. I can respect everybody's position, but I think we need to be mindful when we say it's all, it's not an X. Because like I said earlier, and me and my father have built. My father has no reason to lie to me, but that's proof that a man can be monogamous for 44 something years. That even when he comes in, I say, "Dad, you just retired to go to the strip club." No, man, no, you need to build. We have to also understand. There's also I think Grim said it earlier. We're a new age, so there's a new mindset. You understand what I'm saying? Some people change with that mindset, and some people didn't. It doesn't make you elite. It doesn't make you inferior. But it goes back to what you're saying. You have to know yourself. I know myself. I've known myself since the day I was born. And I've also had to refine myself, but I know myself enough to say, no, I'm not built for it. You know what I'm saying? But I respect those who do it, but I'm not built for it.
What do you think about going to the strip club? What is that?
I've never tried to go to the strip club. It means it was bullshit.
I mean, that was point is just, don't you think that, you know, I mean, I guess, just because I'm not necessarily, you know, I'm not, you know, in a religious relationship, I understand it, and I can understand it to the point where I can actually, you know, kind of defend it. I understand that most men are polygamous. Men are polygamous in nature, but I don't know. I feel like guys kind of like, you know, you find a woman, you like her, and you kind of like you tone it down. You tone it down, or you suppress it.
I'm not the individual.
I'm not gonna say that you do it.
No, I'm speaking for myself. As far as for me, I'm an individual where, you know, I deal with what's real. Anything else is really marketable to me. Like I've never been to a strip club because I don't have a trick mentality. You understand what I'm saying? I pay attention to the more important things in life. What's always been important to me is family, economics, and raising my children. I don't excess or add on baggage or extra load. Who I am is who I am. What I do is what I do. I don't add on unless I can take on that. You understand what I'm saying? So I know who I am. I don't see. I'm not an influential type individual. I know who I'm solid and ready. You understand what I'm saying? So I understand. Like society changed. They say you got to do this. You got to do. Who says who? Do you know yourself enough? You know, and you have to look at that. You know, I'm grown. We all grow. But there's some things about me. No, I don't tip that edge because it's my nature. I'm not saying the next man like that, but I can make the knowledge of raise myself.
I just want to say one thing.
Audience, go ahead, Justin.
But just one thing, man. I just need women to understand that. And I think
never starts like that.
No, really. We have to understand that I don't think women give us enough credit for penis control. You know what I'm saying? Every man just don't want to be with a woman just to have sex. You know what I'm saying? I may get science from this woman. You know what I'm saying? She may heal me when I talk to her, and she can give me understanding so she can be my wife. And that nature alone, we ain't got to be having sex, but when I'm with her, she gives me inspiration. You know what I'm saying? She compliments. I may go to her for advice that I can't get from my wife. So that's not saying that because she does this, I want to see what she's like in bed. Because half the time, when you take it that far, you ruin it. Yeah. It's not friendship anymore. It's because you've changed the molecular structure of it.
So you gonna marry a woman and not give her any?
No, it's not. No.
This is why.
He said when you go there, then it may mess it up.
No, what I said was men don't go to women for sex. And I believe a lot of women think just because a man is with a woman, they got to be having sex. And that is so shallow of a woman to think that of every man. Because a lot of men know how that they have penis control.
But yet on that same end, if you are in a relationship and you tell your woman that I'm kicking it with this woman, but we're not having sex, she's just emotionally fulfilling to me and intellectually fulfilling to me.
Because she shouldn't.
Right, okay.
You shouldn't entertain a woman that isn't going to be your wife.
Okay, so again, this is the topic of course. Obviously, hold on. But again, the panelists have had a lot. We definitely want the audience. Just son, I need to wait.
All right, and I'll keep it quick because I know we gotta go. First of all, give thanks to you and the organizers of this particular event.
Yes.
This is truly a healing event. Any man make a suggestion that this be monthly. Because when you have this, at least quarterly, at the minimum, because this needs to be packed. You know, people need to know this was just the jump off because there's so much healing that needs to be done. I want to know. So, couple of things. First of all, and this without a shadow, without the black and brown movement is the best thing the creator ever created to me. So, any man that doesn't recognize that, even if he's married, you're going to, women are beautiful. But does that mean we're polygamous? I need to know that because maybe I'm trying to get a different definition of what polygamous is. Wait, well, before y'all go into that, let me just finish what I gotta say. Then y'all go ahead. Because for me, I couldn't deal with more than one. I don't know about everybody else. You know what I mean? And my parents been married 56 years. That's all I've seen. So that's all I know. That's all I really want to know. In my mind, to have more than one woman it would be fleshly to me. That's just to me.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back to that.
Hold on.
I just wanted at that point. Are you in a relationship now?
Not currently.
And when you have, and historically, when you're not in a relationship with one woman, have you ever kicked it with more than one woman at a time? Yes or no?
Yes.
Then you're polygamous.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to understand a different definition of polygamy. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you for asking, because when we say polygamous by nature, you're saying, yo, I can't handle one here. I can't handle like 2 or 3 together in a household that all know each other. But when I'm not in a committed relationship, I got one in Decatur, I got one in the Squats, and I got one in Marietta. And there's probably every brother has done that. And you ladies, you can get it out of your mind so you can wake up to the blood facts, is that all of men do that. Just because he ain't with you right now, like, you know, this brother, he said he's in one relationship. That's called serial monogamy. Serial monogamy is when I'm in a relationship, I'm only dealing with one female. Then we break up, and then I'm testing the waters. That's called polygamy by nature.
Wrong.
By nature.
Let me tell you about me. I don't give a fuck about him. I'm telling you about me.
Okay.
I'm not built like that. If the young lady I see now, if it just so happens to work out, man, I gotta keep doing what I'm trying to do as far as things bigger than relationship. You gotta understand something. We talking about relationship. All right, I ain't no regular dude. I got work to do, and this is with the community. So when it comes to what my life, I can't work out with. I'm back on the day. See, no, I got to deal with these babies. So my lane is a little different than well, I ain't work out with her. So let me get back out here. Let me do this. Let me do that. I'm cut differently. Bro. I'm not.
If you have a sister, if you have one child's mother, then you have to take care of that family. That child, you have a relationship with those. Say you have 2 children by 2 different women. You have to relate to both those children and both those females, and that means you care for them. You, by definition, still have love for them. You'll never stop loving them.
So is that your definition of a polygamous? Because those relationships occurred at 2 different times.
Yeah. I'm not talking about it. It doesn't have to be in the same household.
So that's how you define a polygamy.
It's capacity to love more than one person. I don't mean
to love more than one person, or to be in love with more than one person. I want to get a definition.
Hold on. It is getting good. It is getting very good. It's getting very good. However, in respect to everybody's time, what I would like to do is have each of the panelists, hold on. What I would like to is to have each of the panelists make a closing comment, and then we can go on and converse and say whatever else we want to do. Can we do that?
No, you know you cut my time, right? Bring up. Now we on the earth.
It's always.
Bring up. So let me just get this out of the sake, because we need to come back back to this. Because again, I need to get a full definition of polygamy. Because prior to, when I was sitting there, I was starting to see that it's not what I thought it was. Because I'm hearing different varying views, and I'm hearing something that I've...
So you want a definition of polygamy?
Right. After I finish, say what I gotta say. I just want to finish that, and I'm out. Well, not out. No, listen. Sis, when you said about women have so much power, it's just ridiculous. Just like when Method Man said, the power of you, and Dr. Ben Yaakman said, heaven is in the woman's womb. Like, I really believe that. Like, I have so much power. And it's not that, do we have to raise the women and then raise the men with the pulling up of the pants? Like, men can tell young men to pull up pants. He can raise his sons to pull up their pants. We're talking about those cats that's out there that know why they're doing it. If a woman, a young lady, is approached by a cat with his pants sagging and she is not accepting them, the pants are going up. The pants is going up. As soon as but what I'm saying is, a man can keep on saying that, you can keep on talking that, but I'm getting this from Shorty. Cause she ain't saying nothing. She with it.
She's rewarding it.
She is rewarding it. If when the women just and it's hard. And I have 3 princesses. Lord of mercy, and they're gorgeous too. So I gotta, make sure that they know what a man is and know the difference. There's still the fullness is, a woman, when she keeps her standards and not settle, and I understand in this society it may be so hard because it's a shortage of men, but when you keep your standards, you make a man raise his standards. It's just what it is. Because like Rob said, we do whatever we have to do for a woman. At the end of the day, if it's not gonna put me in a position to have somebody, a mate that I can run with, then why am I doing that? I'm going to do what works. So these children, us men can do what we do because we are doing it. Believe me, we're going to these young men like, you know where this came from, and you still doing it. But he goes over there, and Shorty is
right. So they're rewarding.
So anything you're saying as a man to him, he's like, this is what's going on.
This is what they like right now.
This is what they like right now. So I just have to just mention that it's not that y'all have to do both parts. It's just that when a woman recognizes her power and utilizes it, everything just changes. And I have more to say, but I'll stop right
Give thanks. Give thanks. Give it up for Joshua. We'll start here and go around. We'll let you go last. We'll start here and go around. And we got a 60-second closing comment.
I had a great time following Coach Kyer on Facebook.
Good thanks.
Wow, this turned out to be exactly what I'd anticipated. I'm happy that we had this discussion. I think I've learned a lot. You know what I'm saying? I feel happy. You know what I'm saying? I'm very happy about what took place. If you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram, Psalms 82 verse 6, Facebook, Rob Love. I'm very controversial on Facebook, so okay. And if you're not with that, then you might not want to follow. But if you do, Rob Love, RABBLOVE, Guerrilla Republic, Facebook. Again, I want to thank everybody that came out because your time is very important to me. And thank you very much. Love is love.
I just want to go back to my 45. I brought 3 book recommendations. One of them is The Jewel and the Lotus by Senyata Saraswati. The sister said, we want to keep it spicy with the Tantra. This is the Tantric Bible, period. All the white boys is writing about this. There was no Tantric Bible. There was no Tantric manual in the United States before this book, Jewel and those Angels Brothers. This is the, all you ladies, Sexual Teachings of the White Tigers. Bam! For the whole fear about the whole sexuality. Inside front cover, the cover says, if you cannot face directly into your sexuality, you will never discover your true spirituality. Your earthly spirit leads to discovering your heavenly spirit. Look at what created you to discover what will immortalize you. Every man and female should read this book. It's crazy. You don't remember, you don't agree with everything. The exercises in here can stop your menstrual cycle from hurting, hot flashes, and stop sagging breasts. So if none of you ladies are interested in nothing else but them 3 things, it's in here. If your man is having a problem, if you got a limp Tony at the house, the Jade Dragon will have him standing up all night long. Some of you brothers have a problem with recovery time. You have a problem with getting basically erection, but you got to get it back up again because these ladies has got more thirst than we do. Get this book right here, The Sexual Teachings of the Jade Dragon, The Downwards Methods of Male Sexual Revitalization. It's better than all the Montauk Chia books, period. Thank you.
Oh, Willow time, you almost had it.
Thank you all for having me. I just, encourage everybody to, do what is best for you. And that's not saying that you don't understand what's best for the greater good and all that stuff, because it is. I think that when we be the best that we can be, and when we be true to who we are, for some reason it's almost like when you say that, okay, well, this is what's for me, if it's not what's best for everybody else, it's almost like something's wrong with that. Like if being in a monogamous relationship is what works for you, be that. And teach that, men can be monogamous, men can be polygamous, whatever it may be. But we need to, I just really wish we stopped putting so many like this is what we are, because it's not the case. I know plenty of different type of people, and again, when you're just being true to who you are, that's the best thing you can offer this world, I believe. So women, don't feel pressured into anything that you are not all the way 100% down with. A lot of times, we get so much pressure to well, you just got to understand that this is what it is, and it's not just what it is, so just be the best you can be.
Give us this deal, man.
First of all, I want to thank Rob for asking me to sit on this panel. I'm going to say I'm glad to be here, and I learned so much tonight. And Nasi, I just mentioned for the first time, a lot of respect for you, brother, and a lot of respect for Coach down in the end as well too. I love knowledge, and I love to learn. But I always say this: my whole thing in life, man, is to help heal black people from white supremacy. And like it's been said, if you do not understand what white supremacy is and everything that you think you know will confuse you. So my advice to everybody in this room, whether it's relationships with your children, your spouse, your mate, family members, you gotta hit the reset button. Start back over, find yourself, then move forward. I don't know it all, and I'm not gonna claim to know it all. I can only speak on my experience and what's been proven to me. And on that note, I thank you and everybody. Be safe.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody here for allowing me to be in your presence. I think that the common thought here is knowledge of self. And when I say knowledge of self, I don't necessarily mean what we commonly take to be knowledge of self, meaning reading books, learning your history, but it's really knowing who you are as an individual. That's the part we always leave out. And that's the reason why, even though we're conscious, we still have so many ailments that are afflicting us in our community, because we fail to look at ourselves. Too often we use knowledge of self as a justification to point the finger at other people. Whether it's white people, whether it's me pointed at a woman pointed at me, we use it too often to judge everybody but ourselves. So I think that the common thread, or the thing that everybody has said in all the words that have been spoken, is that you have to be honest with yourself. If you think that monogamy is for you, be honest with yourself. Everybody should have to accept that. If you think polygamy is for you, be honest with yourself. Peace.
Thank you guys all for coming out. Thank you all for including me in the debate. I didn't get a chance to say a lot, but I just really thank you guys for coming out, bringing your energy, and just really know that we can take the energy from here and transmute that when we go out into the world and things that we learn. Even if we didn't learn anything, you just kind of feel in a better place, or you feel more peace. We need to pass that on. Like, the destruction is so real, and it's so everybody's eco-friendly. When are we going to start being people-friendly and start saving, really reaching down and doing what we have to do to help one another? It doesn't take these large amounts of money. It doesn't take anything but the will to do it. And find out who we are and cultivate our will and just eliminate fear. There's no need for it. There's a lot of things that we think, oh, this is going to cause me pain or this is going to be this. And these are all learned reactions to stimuli. There's nothing saying that this is what this has to be. This is somebody told me I should feel like this. So guess what? I feel like it. And it's not true for us. So we just need to start, for as much as we talk about relationships and we're so quick to get naked, but we keep all of our armor up. How can you get naked with all your armor? We start getting naked with one another and it's not being right.
Thank you.
I'd like to say, first of all, I'd like to give thanks to your creator for allowing us all to be here. And I want to say thank you, Rob, for bringing us out here. Although I wasn't on the piano, as a break from this tree, I am on the piano. Because we still think alike and we can share ideas. Number two, I want to let everybody know that we, my sister, my husband, myself, we work books, relationship science, stuff like that. It's not solely about polygamy, it's based on relationships. We have one chapter in here about polygamy, where the whole book is about relationships and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shomrey.
I definitely I had a lot to say, but I'm gonna wrap it up because everybody's closing out. But if this discussion is not about polygamy, I want you to realize it's about reality. And I'm not saying polygamy is reality. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying learn to read people, learn to understand people. And I can share with my brother because he don't have to rebuttal because he can understand. But he just showed you a lot of different tantric books dealing with sex. That means that brother's really into sex. Is anything wrong with that? No. You understand what I'm saying? And he marketed it. You know what I'm saying? So and even my brother, I learned a lot from him. You can read him also. We all show ourselves. He said a lot of things. I'm cut from a different cloth. I'm this and that. I'm cut from a different cloth. That means he thinks highly of himself. You know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes you can run into some problems. So this is some of the things that we have to learn how to be able to communicate with each other because we have to learn who we are and what we're putting out there, and then we can do the verbal judo. You know what I'm saying? And then we can understand. And I truly believe him when he says that about monogamy. You know why I believe him? Because he sets himself so high, the bar so high, that he couldn't see himself dealing with anybody else. And he probably did have a hard time with an individual is because he sets it so high. And there's nothing wrong with that. We also set our bar high. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying, right? Yes, sir. All right. So, I didn't want to be throwing him like, nah, that ain't me, bro. And one more, a lot of times, and I think one of the sisters said it, when you out there helping the community, sometimes there's going to be a sister that respects what you do so much, they're going to be drawn to you. It's going to happen because you took their children and you made their child a man, and they by themselves, and they're going to be like, I don't care what he got. I need that brother. He did it. He worked. He fixed my baby. It would be unjust for them to go to anybody else that can't do the job. And follow me at Nasi 79 and on Instagram. And that's it. I thank everybody for coming out. Next time we're gonna have a bunch of meals. We're gonna have a lot of wine on the house and just enjoy ourselves. Book on Amazon, Ancient Science of Love. Ancient Science of Love.
Yes.
Well, I just wanted to say, again, thank you guys so much for coming out. I had a ball. I had such a good time with all of you. On behalf of Girl Republic, my company, 770 Sports Management, we love you guys for being out here and really helping us heal the community. This is really what it's all about. Some of us focus on like the big things and the basic things get lost, and this is foundational. That's what I believe. So thank you for that. And as a lot of you guys have done already, there's a lot of parallels that we can draw. Even though a lot of us have a lot of different standpoints, we still believe that we should understand ourselves because that's going to help us heal our community. So thank you guys again. This is the first installment. We're going to do this again. I don't know if we're going to do quarterly or monthly, but we'll talk about that. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you. Don't
things that all the people were saying when Rob first asked me to be about it. I'm going through some personal situations in my life as well. So I was telling Rob, I don't know if you want me to moderate this thing for real. But, you know, for those that know me, know, as minister servant, you know, I try to be as transparent as possible because I don't feel like I have to prove anything to anybody. I tell people I'm really trying to work it out between me and the Creator, and y'all can just watch or not watch. And yet on that same end, I really think that I've really touched on it. You know, it's the small things that we've kind of forgotten. It's the simple wisdom. It's the compassion between each other. It's the sharing of information with each other that we sometimes forget in these fast pace of technology and things that are going on. What's really important is the one-on-one connection to each other, because that is based in love. Everyone that was here tonight came here out of love, whether it was consciously or unconsciously. You could have been anywhere else, doing anything else, but a part of you, because you love yourself and your people enough, you wanted to come out and have this conversation. So give yourselves a big, big round of applause. And I'm glad that we got some passion here. Nobody got disrespected or got hurt, anything like that, because we need those type of things. And as I said earlier, we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable, and we proved that. So may you all go safely to your next destination as you arrive here. Yes, thank you. Yes, most certainly for hosting us. Rob Love with the divine idea.
Just one more thing. The last topic we was going to touch on was sisters, brother, brother.
Right, yes.
Sisters, heal your sisters. Brothers, we got to be accountable. We got to stand, start, letting brothers know that.
And that's one of the things that we probably start off next time.
Yeah. Next time we will get to that.
Sister, brother, accountability. Yes, most certainly. Again, thank you all for coming out. Peace and love.
I'm